Yeah. So I'm still learning about you. Still learning like who you are and how you think. But it's been cool so far.
I'm glad.
I got interested. I got interested in this like emerging. I just call it like this emerging hypothesis that you could bootstrap the Canadian technology ecosystem by using its growing defense spend.
Yeah,
I got interested in this idea. Not really, never ever thought. I was not like looking into defense or like anything like that. It was never really interesting to me. It was, but I have been thinking about like this Canadian technology ecosystem for like a little while now. And this was like an angle that I had never heard before.
Yeah.
And it sounded pretty interesting based on like my understandings of like what's working and not working in the Canadian technology space.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just started writing down notes and then just trying to like read things about it to see if I could understand it more. And then I came across your piece.
Yep.
Which is like a dual use solution to a dual problem, Canada's innovation and defense spending. And then I read this and I thought like it did a really good job of giving like an overview of the entire thing. Like I had like these fragmented ideas of like why I thought it could work and like why it was, it just instinctually, I was like, this is interesting for some reason.
It makes sense. There's
there's something. I was like, there's something here. Right. And then when I read this piece, it was like, it just gave like a really good overview. So I think like one thing that would be really cool to do is if we could start by like framing up the conversation with this as like an anchoring idea, you know, just in case anyone hasn't like ever heard of this before, doesn't know what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is the kind of like general premise here of this like piece that you wrote?
So it's really, I guess, the grounding premise is that Canada has, at least at time of writing, this was written in March, published in April. So the two big topics that I've found talked about a lot in Canadian politics, Canadian news, was Canadian defense spending, and the fact that Canada was lagging behind its partners, and the fact that Canada's like innovation ecosystem, its economy, its productivity was lagging behind these same countries. So and this isn't like entirely novel. This is something that's been discussed, I think, more on the defense side and on the innovation side of using defense as a economic vector. So the premise is, if we're going to invest, at that time it was 2%, now it's 3.5 or 5%, depending on how you look at it. We might as well do it in a way that is going to have positive consequences for Canada, that is going to have long-term effects. That's not just buying like bulletproof vests from the US, for example, or that's not just building a house in Nunavut. So the idea was really taking this challenge of trying to meet this defense spending guideline and using it as an opportunity to kind of invest in the Canadian innovation ecosystem through this idea of technologies that have military purposes, but also civilian purposes or marketable purposes. The two that I highlight in the piece are drones and AI, because Canada has already kind of an emerging or long lasting expertise and industry in those sectors. So I think they have particularly high potential. But this is really, if you look at NATO has a list of 13 technology areas that are particularly important. Canada has 9, I think, or 7. So there's really kind of a wide breadth. But it's this idea of joining the two challenges that I think are at the forefront of Canada right now.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And then the piece goes down to, you break down some of the things that are already happening, and you kind of like use that as like, these are like reference points. So you say, there's something called the Ideas Program, which I think we'll get into. You reference it against NATO Diana, which we can get into as well.
Absolutely.
But there's another actually kind of thing that you explore. One aspect, like what you articulated, is that we're going to increase our defense spend. And so can we use that defense spend in a way where it's not just some like like all like warfare based stuff, but like we have things in our society and in our country that need to be improved. We're aware that like there's like issues in our country right now. So if we're going to be spending money, is there some kind of like dual use purpose that we can like that we can achieve both with one spend, if you will.
Yeah, yeah.
But then you also highlighted that if we were to do this, right, we're kind of like ineffective at doing these kinds of things, right?
Yeah, that's the problem Canada has right now, is that, like you mentioned, the Ideas program is the big pillar of, as far as I can tell, of Canada's test or initiative in this area, and it just doesn't seem to be working very well. Obviously, it's relatively new, right? I think it first launched late 2010s, 2018 or something like that, 2017, but 2018, it's on the document right now, but it just has, that's not, 7 years is not a ton of time, but it just has not.
Can we pull up the Ideas program?
Led to anything, as far as I can tell. Like, there's very little information. This was, I mentioned this to you over email, but like there was a report in 2023, I believe, that highlighted there's kind of a transparency problem with the Ideas program, at least on the outcome side. But like, if you just compare the government procurement database and the Ideas program, there's just no overlap from what makes it to the final stage to what makes it to procurement. So it seems like it just hasn't produced things the military actually wants to buy, which, I mean, depending on how you look at it, might be fine if these ideas, I mean, these are companies, all the companies that made it to the test drive phase are still alive. They're not like trillion-dollar companies, but they seem to be doing fine. If you look them up, I'm not familiar with any of them, but they are selling things on the marketplace. So maybe it achieved its goal, but it just doesn't seem to be achieving the dual use part. Maybe innovation is working. That I have not looked deeply enough into it to really judge, but it certainly does not seem to be translating into military capability.
Let's like go up to the top here. Let's see like what this thing is. So what is Ideas? Innovation for Defense, Excellence, and Security. So go click over to learn more about how Ideas works. Okay, so the Innovation for Defense, Excellence, and Securities program is investing over $1 billion in innovations for defense and security over 20 years. The Ideas program is designed to improve D&D's access to Department of National Defense, his access to the creative potential of Canadian innovators. We use your knowledge and concepts to enhance defense capability, create an economic impact, and ultimately to build an innovation ecosystem for national defense. From the early stages of an idea to the final testing in a real-world environment, Ideas mobilize Canadian innovators through defense and security challenges and collaborates to best adapt, shape, and maximize the potential of your technology. Ideas is uniquely positioned within D&D to simultaneously utilize the guidance of D&D, CAF leadership, and the technical expertise of our defense scientists in order to help grow and support Canada's innovation community. I don't know why I have a tough time understanding any of this. It's like it's saying stuff, but it's like not really saying stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's
kind of fluffy for some reason.
It's a federal government website. I think they suffer from this a lot.
What is the Innovation for Defense? Ideas mobilizes innovators to improve Canada's defense and security capabilities. Our focus is to improve access. Well, they said that. How does it work? Ideas is seeking potential solutions to the challenges faced by the department. So they have like existing missions that they're giving people. Yeah,
exactly.
We seek multiple solutions for each challenge, test and refine to best fit the needs of DNDCF. So they're doing like a call out.
Basically, yeah, I think is the way it.
How does Ideas support innovators? Ideas supports innovators at all stages of development, from early R&D to prototype development, testing, and commercialization. The program incentivizes collaboration and fosters networks of innovators to tackle complex problems. We provide practical feedback and the opportunity for innovators to demonstrate their solutions to national defense experts. By its nature, Ideas is an access to innovation program and does not have a preference for any particular industry. How long has this been around?
2018. Yeah. Which I don't know. We'd have to look. We can look at the projects when the first.
Yeah, let's see the projects. Let's see funded projects in the navigation on the right.
But I'd assume 2018 is the first time they put out ideas or like a project proposal.
Let's check out these projects. Okay. Whoa, look at this. Top one. It's cool that they have the projects listed here.
Yeah,
that's nice.
There's a lot of details. Like you can see
this is cool.
On this, they have a lot of information, and if you want, we can look at it after. Like you can see what the government procures, any contract over $10,000, and you can see like what they bought for why or for which reason, who purchased it, and like which. Some contracts are more detailed than others, but sometimes you can say like which department of CAF, for example, like is it the Marine or the Air Force, or so you can get some pretty good detail on what was actually done with it. Yeah, it's just not clear that that's substantial.
Let's click the first one. Innovator, Ryerson University. All right. Click that one. Understanding and addressing post-traumatic stress disorder. The Department of National Defense requires novel tools and methods to assess, address, and treat PTSD resulting from defense and security operations. This includes the integrated dimensions of diagnosis, prevention, training, education, resilience, and moral injury treatment. Project title. Amount. Oh, so it just says results, full challenge. What happens if you click that project title? Oh, interesting. So it's just a title. What happens if you click the amount of money? What does that do? Okay. Product, material, design, development, formulation, modification, science, technology, related R&D. Trade agreement, Canadian Free Trade Agreement, comprehensive land claim agreement. No. So this is kind of like a receipt.
Yeah, basically. So they have this, and then it might be on this page. I don't know if it's actually public. I've never looked at it, but there would be usually for programs like this, they'd have this university has to put out a report after saying what they did and like who got the money, and it's very detailed. It might not be public. You might have like it's definitely accessible through access to information, but that takes forever. But yeah, so you can definitely get a lot of detail on any of these.
As I've been diving in, like learning a little bit more of these, like about these government programs, like it's cool to see that there is like some like transparency and like paper trails. It's like cool when you see that. Like I was looking into like zoning and like Toronto, and like you can like see all these like different land use things, and like there's like different, there's like in some areas there's like really good documentation. The interfaces are just always so bad, and then there's so much like fluff text. Yeah, it's weird. The information's like there, but it's not there.
No, it's
what I mean.
Yeah,
it's like this is the information, but it's not the information.
It's a treasure hunt. A lot of this is like when you were looking at that first page for the Ideas program, right? It's a 20-year program. That's really long, right? Yeah. Think about how long, many projects are going to run in 20 years. So it almost has to be vague and like non-committal. Yeah, because that's five elections, right? That's, I don't know, 100, 200 projects probably. So like if you get specific about anything, instantly, like it starts disqualifying people. So if you want to pivot it after, it's much harder. So it's I mean, we can talk a little bit more about it, especially on if we get to the point about regulatory capture later.
Well, what do you mean? Why don't you just say it now?
Oh, well, it's a big point, but the way policy is done in government is very different than the way the private sector operates, I think, is what I've been finding more and more. Like I'm from the government side, right? I've worked in government for a couple of years. I studied poli-sci, public policy. So that was my experience. That's my background. And the more I've been working in this like innovation area and the tech sector, I've really realized there's a big gap between how these two areas understand, like how they talk about what they do, how they go about explaining their achievements, how they go about developing projects. And I think that gap is a big challenge. And I don't know in practice, I would be very curious to see how a tendering process goes for an ideas program. Like if you apply to a competition, what does that look like and what do you have to propose? Because my guess would be it resembles quite closely, my guess from working on similar procurement projects or innovation projects, quite closely a research proposal that you would do for like a HRC grant proposal, like for academia. So, and I think that's harder to approach from a private sector perspective because those are usually quite long timelines, right? I don't know how long this one is, but like SSHRC is 8 to 12 months usually to hear back. You need to be really detailed. You need to put out a lot of information. This might not be as detailed because of the security nature of it, right? Sometimes they don't want to release too much information about capability, right? Because there's national security reasons for that. But usually you have to be very detailed about what you're doing. Whereas if you look at like pitch proposals for startups, for example, it's very hopeful, right? We hope we can do this. We have these big ideas that are going to do things. The way government programs usually get run is much more about, here's what I know, like here's 10 pages of basically review of things that already exist, and here's 3 sentences of something I want to do that is one step away from what already exists, right? There's not big leaps, because those are just harder, because you need, at the end of the day, if you run a competition like this and you get 1,000 applicants, you can only take 10. Those 990 that you don't take, they're going to ask to understand why they didn't get picked. And if you're at all unclear as to why you picked them, like they sue, they make the program take longer. It creates, government has a lot more pressure to be strict and clear and precise, and it can require a lot more like foundational information before it can like take a leap than a company a venture capital firm, for example, that would be looking to invest and make a return. You don't like yes, the fundamentals are important, but at the end of the day, you're investing in an idea that makes sense, right? That you think has potential on the market. Government can't really do that, or at least there seems to be. It doesn't seem to be interested in doing that.
What are the fastest moving, most innovative governments ever? I'm gonna get a pen, one sec.
Yeah,
but you can riff if you have any thoughts. Maybe John, you can pull something out.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
And I wonder how they work, right? Because let's look at like Singapore, for example, as a starting point.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you go to like Claude or something.
I was gonna say one of the ones that come to mind in the Middle East, like United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, are usually pointed to. But I don't know that it's that they're faster or more efficient. It's that they have so much money to lose that they can afford to paint wider, right? Like,
so what are examples of countries that have fast-moving, innovative governments that don't have a lot of, like, right now?
I don't know that it exists.
What about Singapore? What about China?
Singapore is really wealthy, and China is. I don't know that China is fast-moving, but China.
Was Singapore always wealthy? Like, didn't they rapidly transform their country over the last like 50 years or something?
Yeah, for sure.
And what about China? Wasn't like Shenzhen like a fishing village?
Yeah, I think.
So how did that happen?
I think there's a little bit the different reasons. I think China, the big one is the Chinese government knows what it wants.
Yeah.
And it has both the environment and the capacity to do it, right? When China said, we're going to do solar panels, we're going to do electric cars, they said, we're not doing electric cars next year, in 3 years, right? These ideas program are like 1-year programs. China said, we're doing 15 years, right? In 15 years, we're going to be the #1 country in solar panels.
Yeah.
And then they invested.
Yeah.
And they started building solar panels, and they made a loss but if you look at Canada, the US, Europe, if a government was running a program like that, it would get shut down in 3 months.
Why?
People get enraged when the government wastes money, right?
But what do you mean? Doesn't our government waste money every day?
Yes.
Isn't that all they're doing?
They waste a lot of money. But what I mean is, if you look in any newspaper, you'll see articles every week about this stupid program that's not working, or this program that's not efficient enough, or right? Like, there is a very big adversity to risk in government because of how much, like, all this information that's public. It's really great. It enables you to study it, but it also means as soon as you do something a little bit wrong, everyone. But
what about risk? What about the risk of like shit not working? Like what if you're just like constantly doing stuff that's like not working?
Yeah.
What about the risk of that?
I think it's.
But the reason with the China thing that you mentioned about like the solar panels, right? So I think another thing that happened with them was that they were like economically in a really bad position, and I think when it was like the fall of the Berlin Wall, right? Was kind of, I guess, the spark of like globalization. And then at the same time, I think China was having, this is just may sound like high level knowledge, but like I think at the same time, China was going through like this transformational period where like whatever their like flavor of like communism was, it was like not working.
Yeah.
And the prime minister came and like took over, or their leader came and like took over, and he said like it doesn't matter if a cat is black or white, as long as it catches mice.
Yeah.
And so I think what happened was they started operating based and serving the whatever demand existed. They were like, we're going to go from like an ineffective state into an effective state. And the way we're going to do that is by serving the demand. And the world is going through this period where they're like opening up. And so China becomes like this hub, right? That is just willing to serve the demands of the global market, right?
Yeah.
And then it builds up over time like that. I think one of the reasons why that happens is because I think maybe their economic position was so bad that there was like a universal agreement around the condition of the country, or enough of agreement. So there's probably still people that didn't agree with and fought the change, or like didn't want things to happen a certain way. But maybe there was enough universal agreement about the economic position of their country that like, hey, things have to change now, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. So maybe that's the issue. Maybe things are not like really that bad here. You know?
I mean, that's, I think, is a major factor. This is a rant I go on frequently, but Canada is so wealthy. Like I was trying to pull up the GDP per capita for China compared to Canada. Like China's a world superpower or whatever.
Yeah.
The average Chinese person is like an eighth as wealthy as the average Canadian. It's bad. Like China's GDP per capita is, I'm trying to pull it up right now, but Wi-Fi is being a little slow, but it's like, China has challenges around the fact that, like Shanghai versus outside of Shanghai is
this it?
Big city versus, if you can find GDP per capita, 13,000, right? And the average Canadian.
Where do you see that?
It's the third from the top.
Yeah. GDP per capita in China.
Yeah, so that's essentially how much money the average. That's China's total amount of money generated every year divided by the population. So what do you make of that? I mean, it's not a great metric, right? It's an overview. There's China, for example, like the divide between someone who lives in Shanghai and someone who lives in rural Wuhan's a bad example, but rural the region with the Uyghur. But whatever, right? Like there's a massive divide. China is a country that has both the first world and the third world in it at the same time. But it doesn't matter because there's 1 billion Chinese people and there's 40 million Canadian, right? So if China decides to do solar panel, they can throw people at it, right? Like I think, I don't want to say it's under discussed, but like China's absolutely done some amazing things. Like they have really innovated in some areas. They clearly know how to pick industries and go at it until they succeed. But like there's a lot. Like China, I don't think, I would not trade the Canadian position for the Chinese position any day, right? Like the working conditions are still really terrible. I mean, right now the economy is being, there's an article almost every day about how the economy is being sustained by people working 7 jobs because they literally in China because like their economy is crashing right now because most of their money is from exporting to the US, and obviously that's not working right now. But like it's a very complex question, like whether China is doing well or poorly. I mean, well, I think is hard to debate. Very well maybe is debatable, but there is still clearly a very big divide between. But like once again, like that's GDP per capita doesn't say everything or even much. I would say, right? Like it doesn't matter.
Why do you say that?
Well, because it doesn't matter if you have 13,000, if your GDP per capita is $13,000, and you, but you still produce like if OpenAI was a Chinese company, right, or even DeepSeek, depending on, like if you're the number one AI country in the world, it doesn't matter that your entire economy is worthless because you are still like these are not, they're not in competition with each other, I guess is what I'm getting to, right? You can have a very innovative, capable economy and also like not be like there's a.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I feel like I'm trying to summarize.
They're related. You're basically saying like the GDP per capita is an interesting metric to look at, but it doesn't tell the full story of how creative and innovative a country is being.
Exactly. And it doesn't, I don't think it would be easy to find the data on this. But like if you compared Shanghai versus Canada, you'd get much more similar numbers, right? Because to Canada, and Shanghai's population is probably pretty close to Canada's.
I see.
Right. So like it's hard to compare because it's like when you compare the US, right? The US is one people always point to, oh my God, the US is more productive than Canada. Yes, it is. But the US, and no disrespect to anyone, I recognize this is recorded, but like Mississippi exists, right? Like the US has ridiculous gaps in like wealth, and like someone living in Silicon Valley and someone living in Missouri is not living the same life. Like that's just the fact. It's similar in some ways, but it isn't in the same way that if you live in Toronto or if you live in like Nunavut or Saskatoon, like you are living different lives. So like country level statistics are hard to compare. Or the one I like to point to because it's just such a glaring figure, but Tokyo has the same population as Canada, right? That's one city.
That's nuts.
It's crazy. Like that makes no sense, but it is. So like country level statistics versus are always hard to compare.
One thing I'm finding is that Canada is like one of the weirdest countries. It's like
it's a whole mess.
It like the country, it doesn't really make any sense.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Right? Yeah. Like it's like you have like 30 or 40 million people on like, and it's like the country's like the size of half the fucking planet.
Yeah.
Like it's like this huge place, and you have like,
and people basically live in 3 places. Like it's Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, and then you have suburbs, and then you have a couple cities. It's not.
Canada ranks 37 by population among. Canada ranks 37th by population among countries of the world, comprising about 0.5% of the world's total, with about 41.5 million Canadians as of 2024. Have you like driven across Canada or anything like that?
I have not. No, actually, I went to Vancouver for the first time this summer. It was the most west I'd been other than Toronto, so I have not traveled Canada very much.
How fucking huge this place is, man.
No, it's massive. Like it's
look at this place,
and
man.
it's
and the majority of it is like unusable.
Oh, it's completely empty. And it's a challenge because, and we can discuss this more as well. But like,
it's weird, right?
On the innovation front, you have 13 governments in Canada, right? Like you have 14 governments. You have the federal government.
14 governments.
You have the federal government, and you have the 3 territories who kind of are governments. And then you have 10 provinces, and they all want a piece of the pie. They all want to be the one that invested in the thing that worked. And so, and innovation, especially research in general, is in a really weird area where, so powers between provinces and the federal government are divided by the Constitution, right, in Canada. Yeah. And the Constitution was written a while ago, 1840. And so, or at least the original version, the version that has this divide of powers. And universities weren't really a thing. Innovation wasn't really a thing. So who was responsible for universities is probably provinces because education is provincial. But who is responsible for innovation and research? No one knows. I mean, they'll all tell you it's them, but...
Go back up to this image with the red dots at the bottom. Damn. Just look at it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just off the border.
Yeah.
What do you think? You think this is good design? When you look at this, do you think that's great design?
No, I think a little
bit like, I don't know, this place is kind of fucking weird.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes no sense. Like, there's actually no reason for these provinces, these regions to be together in a country. Like,
damn, yeah. It's such an odd thing.
Yeah.
And it's such a huge landmass.
Absolutely. And yeah.
And like, it's just really like, I guess it's just really cold up at the top.
Yep. It very quickly gets pretty much uninhabitable. There's a reason everyone's around the lakes.
How much of this is uninhabitable? Like,
at think it would depend how you define inhabitable.
Can you zoom in on this map a little bit? Yeah. Okay. So we've got. So we're like on the bottom there.
Yep.
With the rectangle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not the rectangle, the dotted line thing. And then, wait, what is that dotted line thing?
I think that's just a zoom to the top left.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Got it. Okay. So
it's also 50% of Canada's population, but
that is right.
I think so. I think that's close to, that's the Windsor Quebec City corridor. So I think it's close to 50% of Canada's population.
That's the weird thing. Like when you talk about like Canada, it's like it's actually a useless word in a way, right? Like because it's like you with the situation like this, you have to be way more specific. Yeah. Because when you use that word, and if you're using that word Canada and you're referencing this whole system, there's just too many different dynamics for any idea or any conversation to make any sense.
Yeah. I mean, even like talking to each other, right? Yeah. Like I was in Scotland for a couple months, a couple of years ago, and someone asked me, like I said, I was from Canada. They said, "Oh, have you ever been to Vancouver?" I went, "I'm from where I live. Scotland is the same distance as Vancouver. Why would I go to Vancouver?" Yeah. But that's the problem, right? Yeah. A partnership between Toronto and Paris is the same level of challenge, basically, like geographically. Not like there's other barriers, but geographically, as a partnership between Vancouver and Toronto.
It's difficult to comprehend how big this country is.
It is, yeah.
Like the landmass. It's really difficult to comprehend it.
Yeah.
Can you find like a POV of walking through like Edmonton? Oh, extreme concentration. About 75% of Canada's 39 million people live within 150 kilometers of the U.S. border, creating a narrow ribbon of settlement across the world's second largest country. That's landmass, obviously. Yeah. This means vast areas of northern Canada have virtually no permanent residents. That's so weird. Is there any other country like that? No
Russia.
Way. Really?
Yeah.
Is it the same kind of like population?
It's not as dense, I don't think, but it's pretty similar.
Like the distribution kind of?
Yeah. The vast majority of the population is next to the Polish, Western European border.
Can we see Russia too, John? Yeah. Like that
they have a little more
population thing.
Yeah, I think Siberia is more inhabited than the Canadian North, but not by much would be my guess.
I think
Spain also has a weird population distribution.
Really?
Yeah, because it's deserts in the middle, but I also don't think it's as. I mean, it's hard to beat Canada just because of how big the country actually is. Like you're just not gonna hit those numbers, but
75% of the entire population is just down at the bottom there. Okay, so this is like Russia. Yeah. Population per kilometer.
It's like that entire top, right? But that's the same thing as the Canadian North, right? We're talking Siberia, Arctic land. Like you can't live there.
I'm gonna do it.
I mean, if you want to move to Nunavut,
go to Yellowknife POV. Like let's just go up a little bit. Let's go Saskatoon POV, Edmonton POV, Yellowknife POV. Yeah. I mean, like POV walking YouTube videos. Let's see. Let's just see what this is like in winter.
Well, there's no sun. I can tell you that.
Oh, just right to Yellowknife. Sure, let's do it. This looks beautiful, man.
Yeah. And the Canadian North is really nice. I had a chance to go up the Quebec coast on like basically a school trip, but it gets really beautiful.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what is it like?
It's just wide expanses of tundra and like lakes and ocean.
Oh, stop playing, John. There we go. Major hub. It's just one fucking car. Wow. There's got to be a better video than this, bro.
About Yellowknife?
Like a walkthrough. There's got to be like a walk. Like I just want like a driving tour. The Yellowknife driving tour. Let's get, yeah, let's do this. Let's just drive. Just mute the video. Let's go here. All right, so this is her driving through. Yellowknife Old Town Neighborhood Driving Tour. So they have buses. That's
I
cool.
mean, it's a real town. I don't know what the population is, but it's not small. Like it qualifies as a city, definitely.
Oh, okay.
Trying to find the population, but yeah, I mean, the problem with any of these is actually getting stuff there, right? Like, there's no roads that go up. I mean, Yellowknife probably, but a lot of these towns, like, you have to fly things in.
Yeah.
And that makes anything you do there.
They have Tim Hortons there, right?
I'm sure they do, yeah.
Do they have, like, can you find out, like, Google Maps, like, for Yellowknife restaurants? Like, what bangs?
Oh, no, it's 20,000 people at Yellowknife, apparently. That's way
pull
smaller
up
than I
pull up
thought.
the Google Maps for Yellowknife, man. What's, like, the best shawarma in Yellowknife? Oh, they got an FJ Cruiser. This looks like Etobicoke.
Yeah.
This looks like Long Branch.
Oh, there is a road to
One?
Yellowknife. Yeah. At least
One
one.
road?
At least one. I
How long-
can Google Maps
How
it.
long would it take to drive to Yellowknife?
50 hours from here.
50 hours?
Yeah.
Wait, whoa. That's crazy. That was a good zoom out. So can you search, like, can you hit that restaurants button on the top left?
That airport's the same size
Oh,
as the
sweet.
city.
So is it, what's this? 214 Ricky's All Day Grill. Oh, look at that. Bullock's Bistro. Click that. 1,730. This place looks fucking $30 to $50 a fucking meal.
Well, think about how expensive it is to get food there.
No way, man.
Yeah.
So people are just bawling out of their minds in Yellowknife?
No, the government pays you.
What?
Yeah, if you live in northern Canada, you get government subsidies.
Like how much?
Large amounts.
Really?
Yeah, it's like 20K or 30K or something on top
Really?
of any income. Yeah. The government has to pay you to go live there. Like, that is, no one wants, like, people live there for like ancestral reasons and cultural reasons. But
Yeah, I would move there
to get
for
people-
like enough cash. Fuck it. Work remotely.
yeah. Well, you have to be in person usually to get that money, but
No, I mean like you could just work like a remote job.
Oh, yeah.
in Yellowknife
Yeah,
and
I don't
just
know-
Get another extra like.
I don't know if they
30K.
give you the money if you're just living there, or if you have to. But yeah, like.
So like everybody who lives there gets paid by the Canadian government.
I don't know what the details are.
The Canadian government doesn't directly pay people just for living in Yellowknife, but there are several financial incentives and support programs for northern residents. Travel benefit. Okay, it's the main federal benefit residents of Yellowknife can claim tax deductions for. Travel benefits. Okay, cool. Cost of living benefits varies by income level. These deductions can be worth several $1,000s per year depending on your situation. Government employee premiums. Federal and territorial government workers in Yellowknife receive northern living allowances, typically 15 to 25% salary premiums, isolation pay supplements, enhanced relocation assistance, travel allowance for work-related trips. Territorial programs. The Northwest Territories government offers heating fuel subsidies for residents, various housing assistance programs, education and training incentives. Extended healthcare benefits often cover medical travel to southern Canada when specialized care isn't available locally. Some professions, teachers, nurses, RCMP, receive significant recruitment bonuses and retention payments for northern postings. The total value varies greatly depending on your employment, income level, and personal circumstances, but many residents effectively receive several $1,000s annually in various forms of northern compensation through tax benefit programs. What is the longest and shortest day? Light. However, wait, let me read that last sentence there. However, these generally offset rather than exceed higher costs of livings in the north. Offset rather than exceed. So it's saying it's expensive to live there.
It's really expensive. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Because pretty much everything has to be shipped. Like, food doesn't grow. Very limited food grows. People lived there before we had modern supply chains. Like, it's doable. It's just not great.
Longest day is 20 hours and 30 minutes of daylight. The sun rises around 3:30 a.m. and sets around midnight. The shortest day is 4 hours of daylight. This place fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Like you have like no daylight. There's fucking Bullock's Bistro, and there's a sandwich that's like $50.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
you get subsidies, but the subsidies don't even like cover the fucking sandwich at Bullock's Bistro.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I mean, like, once again, if the government has to pay you to go somewhere, that's usually not somewhere people want to move.
Go back to Bullock's Bistro for a sec. Is that what it's called? Bullock's? Yeah, Bullock's. Go to like some images.
That's quaint.
Can you go to... Oh, yeah.
I guess
click.
food looks good.
Waikiki Beach. It's cool. The food looks really good.
Yeah.
Wait, go up. Click that image with the fries and stuff.
I mean, I'm sure the fish is good, right?
That looks fucking good.
Yeah, Yellowknife's is next to the, what's that called? The big
Body of water.
body of water. No, maybe? Yes. I'm actually zooming out because I can't. No, not the one I was thinking of, but they are next to a lake.
It looks good. Okay, so get out of this. And like, can you see the menu? Yeah, go to those images. Whoa. Holy shit. Okay, so zoom in on this.
I mean, that's basically
Buffalo-
from 2024.
Hold on, yeah, zoom in on this. Zoom in. Can you zoom in on this? Yeah. So here we go. Buffalo ribeye. Fresh buffalo ribeye grilled to perfection and drizzled with our famous cooking sauce. Served with home-cut fries and fresh house salad. 45 bones.
I mean, these are pretty much like city prices, right? Like, this is what
Yeah.
you would pay.
But you're not in the city, man.
No.
You're like in a place like where fucking Bane grew up. Slurp and burp. Hope you're hungry for our version of surf and turf. Buffalo ribeye steak and your choice of fish. Cooked your way. Served with home-cut fries and fresh house salad. So this is like the buffalo ribeye, but with like another meat.
Yeah,
Like
fish,
another-
I guess.
Yeah. I'd probably grab the slurp and burp if I rolled through it just to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta. How frequently are you going to Yellowknife, right? Like,
Fresh fish, chowder, or buffalo stew, seasonal only. Fresh chowder made with local wild-caught fish that is made just the way it needs to be. Or fresh buffalo stew that is hearty and delicious. Sounds nice on like a cold, dark day, you know?
yeah, your 4 hours of sunlight, you enjoy them at Bullock's Bistro.
Yeah. Vegetarian special. Just fucking salad and fries.
17.
$17, damn.
And that's 2024. That's definitely gone up.
Wow. The fries look really good.
Yeah.
They look really good. Poutine. The Canadian classic. Fresh home-cut fries with cheese curds smothered in gravy. Okay, cool. Let's see one more restaurant. Let's go look at one more. If you go hit that back button on the left. Oh, whatever. What else do they got? Birchwood. The Brewing Company.
They might not have a Tim Hortons. There's none on the list. That is
Miss Saigon? Is that Saigon is that Vietnamese food? Or am I tripping out?
Isn't that a chain? I think I've seen.
Click the website, misssaigonk.ca at the bottom there. Wow. Look at this website. Takeout and delivery. Vietnamese food delivery in Yellowknife. Holy fuck. At Miss Saigon Takeout and Delivery, we offer meals of excellent quality and invite you to try our delicious food. The key to success is simple. Provide quality, consistent food that tastes great every single time. Go up, food delivery? Menu, sorry. Sorry, I know it's supposed to be about defense tech.
I mean, the North matters a lot.
It does.
It's the most recent defense policy statement was our North strong and free. It's the focus of Canada's current defense spending. So,
wait, go back to the Vietnamese thing. And this is important, trust me. This ties back to Northern defense. I'm just trying to understand what's happening up there, you know?
mm-hmm.
It's just really interesting that there's a Vietnamese spot. That's crazy.
When I was trying to look up the
Korean
subsidy program, they had an immigration program to encourage people to immigrate there.
Really?
Yeah. So it ended in 2018, as far as I could tell. But
what if the best banh sandwich was in Yellowknife? Like, what if the best pho was in Yellowknife? You know, Masala Kingdom. This is fucking crazy. This place is incredible.
It's actually kind of impressive when you think there's only 20,000 people in this city. Like,
yeah, it's nuts.
That's a lot of a very diverse restaurant scene for a 20,000 people town.
It's a bunch of people from Scarborough that just moved up there. And they're just like opening restaurants and shit.
They feel right at home.
Wow. The North.
There's a
Okay,
McDonald's.
so there is. There's got to be a Tim's, man. They have a Vietnamese restaurant. There's a Tim Hortons here. There's like 3 Tim Hortons here. Yeah, for sure.
Imagine moving from Ethiopia to Yellowknife, though. Like, that's a temperature shock right there.
What is the temperature in Yellowknife? Oh, there's a Filipino restaurant? How is that possible?
Immigration programs,
There's
man,
like-
they work. When you tell people to go somewhere and you make it conditional on their acceptance in the country,
Ethiopian
they
restaurants?
go there.
How is this possible? Tim Hortons. Boston Pizza. Mary Brown's. That place sucks. Walkbox. Domino's. KFC.
I wonder if there's a military base right next to Yellowknife. There almost certainly is.
Can you see military bases on Google Maps?
Some of them, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Like you can see Canadian military bases on Google Maps?
Yeah,
Like, which
usually
one?
you can't see the inside, but you can see like where they are. Like you'll see the outline, but like obviously there's no street view or anything. I mean, a lot of them are not that, like military bases are not that secret.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's not that much that, it's mostly just like housing for military.
Well, you can't just search for it, it seems like.
No, you can,
So-
I found there's a Royal Canadian Air Force base.
NORAD?
Yeah, there's a NORAD one on the airport, and there's
It's got a really
Joint
low
Task
rating.
Force on the. Yeah, that's not surprising. Yeah, there's a Canadian Forces. There's a base at that point in the middle of the city where it says Joint Task Force. I'm pretty sure that's a base
Oh, really?
because Canadian Forces North.
Right there,
area.
top left.
Looks. Can I go?
Oh, yeah. Whoa. 13 reviews on it. Ground Self-Defense Force. Wow. So you've got
That's a small
Yellowknife.
building.
So wait, zoom out a bit. Stay on this map. If you zoom out a bit. All right, so keep going. All right, keep going. Wow. And can you believe that? That like right where that red dot is, there's a fucking Vietnamese restaurant. Can you believe that? That's like
Yeah. You're
like
not
that's
close.
crazy. Okay, so the interesting thing about like the military or defense in Canada is that it's kind of as weird as the population distributions are in Canada too.
Yeah.
Because you have the majority of the population at the bottom, 75%, I guess basically like Ontario, Quebec,
Yeah, basically, yeah.
right? Or whatever. No, it is that area.
Well,
right?
yeah, Vancouver is technically within the
Oh, okay.
that 175 kilometers to the.
Oh, okay. All right. So anyways, everyone's hovering at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then all of the defense, like it's strategy. So the earth is like a map, like a map, and like everyone's making moves.
Yeah.
And Canada, it's like everyone's kind of at the bottom, but then at the top, it's so cold and so uninhabitable and so difficult to navigate and reach that people you don't even really need to defend it.
So that was the Canadian, and I would say even NATO perspective for a really long time. But I would say the last at least 10 years, probably closer to 20, that's changed a lot. I think a lot of countries have realized that the Arctic is not as impenetrable as maybe we assumed, and it's a pretty easy way for Russia to come through. Maybe ground forces, but certainly missiles. They don't care, basically.
So go to the top map. How would they come through? Let's see. Go all the way up. Let's go to the northern Canada. Keep going up. All right, so here we go, right? Northwest. Oh, okay. And then there's, okay.
Yeah, they're on the left.
Oh, yeah.
But like this is a flat map, but like it's a sphere, right? So like those 2
Exactly.
points, the tip of
That's
Canada
ridiculously
is
close.
pretty close. Like that ocean looks bigger than it actually is. Also because deformation
So
on maps.
they're worried about entry attacks from that side, basically.
Yeah, basically because like this wraps around, right? So if you go over the pole,
Yeah.
those 2 points are actually pretty close to each other.
Yeah. And so why hasn't this happened ever? That's like Alaska up there, right?
Yeah, to
So
the
like
left
why-
is Alaska.
Why hasn't that happened? Like, it's just because it's cold?
I
It
mean,
seems-
I don't think Russia or the U.S. really want to go to war with each other.
yeah, for sure.
Like, I mean, it's a threat, right? And it makes sense that you'd want to be careful about it or whatever. But like, I think we are,
Yeah, right there.
yeah. Like, if Russia wanted to attack a major country, they would start with Europe, and they could like any day. But there's really no. I mean, this is like almost, I don't know, like psychology or something. But like, I don't see Russia that interested in a war, in an all-out war with the European Union, for example, or with NATO.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not. It doesn't really make sense. But
I want to go up here to this area to see for myself how difficult it is to navigate, and like, because you hear things, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wonder how difficult it actually is.
yeah, I know. There was recently.
Can we look at none of it too?
It's some equipment that Canada bought. I think it was guns.
Yeah.
Arctic. That failed. They were supposed to be. They were made specifically for the Arctic, and they did not.
Guns?
I think it was guns. Yeah, They were doing.
So what's this? This is none of it. Is there any, like, where's the population concentration here?
Iqaluit? I
Yeah.
think is the capital.
Yeah, I actually watched a walkthrough video of this recently.
Yeah, rifles issued to Canadian Rangers can't stand up to the Arctic cold. This is the article. C-19 rifles.
You want to find this, John? See,
Yeah,
I'm
the
telling you
article
to
is
look up so
titled
much
"Rifles
stuff now.
Issued to Canadian Rangers Can't Stand Up to the Arctic Cold," but they, customs designed for the Canadian Rangers, and when they got into testing, I don't think this is related to the IDEAS program, but it was a government-funded.
we'll check it out. So this is Equaluit.
Equaluit?
What?
Yeah.
Iqaluit, yeah. Is the capital city of the Canadian territory of Nunavut. It sits on the vast Baffin Island in Frobisher Bay. The island is known for its ice-capped mountains and tundra valleys near the city. Sylvia Grinnell Territorial Park is home to caribou and Arctic foxes. Quamarovet, sorry if I said that wrong. Territorial Park on a tiny island near the city contains archaeological remains of ancient Thule people. Can you see that park? See if you can find this. Yeah. Such a what a weird landscape, man.
Yeah.
You
And
see images?
it's a big challenge, right? Because whenever you, like the IDEAS program, whenever they make things there, those things have to work
In these environments.
In these environments, right? These are places the Canadian forces are deployed into.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously, like, not everything, like they can do different things for different solutions, right? But like, these are major challenges, and like, we're only talking Canada, but the Canadian Armed Forces are deployed everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a big mission in Poland. There's Canadian Armed Forces and all the way around Asia. There's a standing deployment around China, like in the China Sea. Like, these are major challenges that you have to consider when you're,
Yeah.
and that's why it's so challenging, right? Like, I reamed a lot of the government. There's a lot of things I think it does that are not the most efficient or the most optimal, but like, these are major challenges that it has to consider, because when the Canadian Armed Forces buy 10 jets or whatever. They need, like, the Canadian Armed Forces only has, I don't know, like 100 jets or something. Again, we're not talking tens of thousands of jets or tanks or boats. So these things have to be able to be used for 30 years. They have to be able to be used everywhere. Like, so these are really challenging conditions.
Yeah.
That any of
and
these...
I mean, all that stuff's becoming like, doesn't all of that stuff become like obsolete? Because like we're like in this kind of like technical paradigm shift, right? Where like so much of the way that computers work is like changing.
So that's, I don't know is the answer to that, because theoretically, like, that makes sense, right? And there's a lot of people saying we're in a context where like technology is advancing faster and faster. And, that means we're going to have we need faster procurement cycles. We need faster technology replacements. We need faster either upgrading or replacing of jets, of radars, of whatever. But in practice, like the F-35, I don't know, it was in the news before COVID.
F-35?
F-35 jets, right? That Canada was supposed to buy. I think the first announcement that Canada was going to buy it is like 2011.
Yeah.
It was supposed at that time to replace, I think, a 30-year-old plane, the CH-18, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. It still hasn't gone through. What do you
mean by it hasn't gone through?
Like, nothing's been bought. We're still running those. Yeah, they announced it, and then nothing happened for like years because they were, I don't know, negotiating or whatever. And then recently with the conflict with the U.S., they canceled the contract. Or at least I think they said they're rethinking the contract. I don't know if it's officially canceled, but like, so we're still running. I can't F-35. I am trying to find what the replacement plane is, but like, those are not the planes this is supposed to be replacing.
What's this, John? What's this F-35 thing that he's talking about?
I think it's a type of plane.
It is, yeah.
Can you find something about the F-35 procurement? Why are planes always at the center of all this stuff? Like, why?
They're expensive, right? An F-35 we're talking billions, right? For a full plane. Okay, we can see. I think
and like, I guess they're difficult to make.
They're very difficult to make. There's like, I think this is called fifth or sixth generation fighter jet. It probably says somewhere on the.
Yeah, Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II Canadian procurement. The Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II Canadian procurement is a defense procurement project of the Canadian government to purchase Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II Joint Strike Fighters for the Royal Canadian Air Force. This is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, 1997.
Yeah, a process started in 1997. The F-35 procurement has been a source of considerable controversy in public policy circles in Canada since the federal government announced its intention to purchase the aircraft in 2010. In April 2012, with the release of a highly critical Auditor General of Canada report on the failures of the government's F-35 program, the procurement was labeled a national scandal and fiasco by the media. In December 2014, analysis of the procurement, Ottawa Citizen writer Michael Dentent cited the Harper government's ineptitude piled upon ineptitude and bureaucracy and inertia driving a lack of progress. So what's so fucking hard about this? It's just about trying to buy a plane, no?
Yeah, it is just trying to buy a plane, theoretically. But in practice, it's like, this is what I was talking about, right? So you announce you're buying a plane. How the government generally does it is, so this started in 1997, right? So they said, we need new planes in 1997. They probably said, we need new planes in 15 years. That's usually how it works.
Yeah.
And so they go, okay, what do these planes need to be? So they start thinking about what capacity the Canadian Armed Forces are going to need, or the Air Force in this case, are going to need in 15, 20 years. And so they think about like how technology is evolving, how all this is happening. And then they go, okay, we need jets that can do these things, these 10, 15, 20 things. And then they go to for a jet like this, there's like 3 companies, right? You're buying Lockheed Martin, Boeing, maybe Airbus. That's pretty much it. Like, there's not a ton of competition. So this would probably be 1-to-1. And considering how big of a purchase this was, the U.S. government was probably involved in negotiations too. So you go to them, you go, okay, we need these things. What do you have that meets these criteria? Because these are generally custom-made orders, right? Like, they have a plane framework with a bunch of capacities that they can adapt to what the government needs. And like in this case, probably Lockheed Martin said, okay, we have this plane that we're designing right now. It'll be ready in 2008. And it'll have the capacities you need, and we can adapt it so it works for your cases, and it's, you know, bilingual labeling or whatever, right? All the rules that the Canadian government needs to have. And in 2011, they go, okay, we signed with Lockheed Martin. We've gone through this process. We've compared their offer to Airbus's offer to Boeing's offer. They're the best deal.
Wait, so that's like a lot of time, though.
That's a lot of time, yeah.
That's fucking 14 years.
And so at that point, yeah, but recall that probably 5 to 8 of those years are looking at like trying to do forecasting, trying to look at what the 1997 is probably when they went, we will need new planes in the coming decades, right?
Oh, okay.
Not we will need new planes next year.
Oh, okay.
These are really long-term procurement initiatives, right? Like I don't know when the first F-35 was deployed, but it probably wasn't 1997, right? This plane did not exist when they started thinking about buying a plane. So, but then it releases in 2010. They put out a big government webpage with a ton of details that mean nothing. But someone goes really in depth and gets some access to information requests, and then they find things that don't make sense in the procurement process or things that are a little questionable. And then they write a news article. I don't know about this case, but this is generally how it goes, right? We could find the Ottawa Citizen article here that's linked is probably the one.
But keep going.
But so they find something that's critical, that's not perfect. That's news articles get released, more news articles get released. Everyone starts complaining because this is an expensive program, right? It's an American program. This isn't being built in Canada, so people are mad about that. And so all of this makes it very, very hard to move forward, right? Because there's a lot of pressure to redo that already 13-year process they've already done from the thinking about a plane to announcing a plane, right? Because everyone says you did it for 13 years and you got the wrong answer. Did they? I don't know. Like, right? I have not. This is not a case.
That's what they're saying.
That's what the media blitz around this is saying. And so from to that, so then everything slows down, and then like this is all negotiation, right? Once the plane is designed, where is it getting built, right? But not where is the plane getting built? Where are the wheels getting built? Where is the landing gear getting built? Where is the wing getting built? Where is the radar being built? Because there's a bunch of rules that say, well, if you're selling something in Canada, you have in defense procurement, you have to do, at that time was called regional defense. I don't know. Is it essentially a program that says you have to do a little bit in Quebec, a little bit in Ontario, a little bit in Alberta, a little bit, right? You have to distribute it regionally because everyone needs to get their slice of the pie. And so, okay, there's no wheel company in BC, but there's a wheel company in Quebec. Quebec is a radar company, but so does BC. They already got the wheel. So like all of this gets negotiated because maybe the wheels in Quebec are cheaper than the wheels in BC, but you have to give a little bit to BC, but then Boeing doesn't, or Lockheed Martin doesn't want to pay that extra price. So all this that gets negotiated, this is very slow. And then you get, 23 years later or whatever, 28 years later, and the US starts fighting with Canada over tariffs, and then we don't want them anymore. So now we're restarting that whole process, and we still don't have jets, right? So the jets this was supposed to replace, I couldn't find. I think it is CH-18 is the name of they're like 40 years old now. Like these are not new jets.
Yeah. Can you go back to the Wikipedia page, John?
Yeah, CF-188.
Oh yeah, we can look that up too.
Not a new plane.
On damn. That's a crazy waste of time.
Yeah, but if even after 13 years of thinking through this, of writing down like everything, every decision they made, I guarantee you had at least a multi-page explanation for why they picked, this factory across the street instead of the other one. People still find issues with it because governments get scrutinized extremely closely, right? Every decision they made gets read through, and people will highlight in red everything that's maybe a little bit wrong or a little bit maybe, with 10 years of hindsight, it wasn't the right decision back then. And so but
there's ways around this. Like people create like special economic zones and stuff like that, right?
Absolutely.
Like they try to say like, hey, okay, like we can't like operate this way anymore in this category of areas because it's like too risky now.
Exactly.
To keep operating like
and
this.
Like there is, the best example is COVID, right? Governments were doing in Canada. Governments were doing digital transitions for 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
COVID happened in 1 month. Every single public servant in Canadian government was fully remote, had a laptop, had a VPN, was able to work from home, right?
Within 1 month.
Like a month or two,
Yeah.
right? Some of these, like if we go to war tomorrow,
Everything.
we don't have planes in a month. Planes take a while. We have planes in 5 years, right? We have planes in 3 years.
Yeah.
Preferably, we have planes when we start, because if you have to do it in 3 years, it's more expensive. You maybe don't get exactly what you want. Like there's downsides to that. But like some of this is we didn't care and we didn't want to spend the money. And I would not be that surprised. Once again, this is not a case I have studied particularly closely, but I would not be that surprised if one of the reasons from 2010 to 2025 we never got those planes is the government didn't actually want to spend the money it costs to get those planes. So they said, we're going to give you, like they said to Lockheed Martin, we're going to give you $1 billion this year and $1 billion next year. And like the total cost is 15 billion. So that's 15 years, right? And so
I wonder how much money they gave to Lockheed Martin during that process and didn't get it back.
Oh, very large amounts of money. But
Like, I mean, and sorry, didn't get the planes. For that project. You know how sometimes when you're like working
very
on a
large
project,
amounts
you
of
pay,
money.
like,
It's actually,
you know, like if someone, like you do a meeting with someone, they have like consulting or something that you like pay them for their time or whatever. I wonder how much money just went to
very
this
large
just to like
amounts.
just
It's
talk
actually-
about the fucking planes. Interesting. The Avro is cool too, that concept. I haven't looked into that, but that's an interesting
Like our
one.
first controversy with airplanes.
Yeah, you have that, right?
Yeah.
You had it there?
It's like one of the most famous Canadian things that.
The Avro Canada CF-105 Arrow was a delta-winged interceptor aircraft designed and built by Avro Canada. The CF-105 held the promise of Mach 2 speeds at altitudes exceeding 50,000 feet and was intended to serve as the Royal Canadian Air Force's primary interceptor in the 1960s and beyond. What's an interceptor? I guess like
it's
just a fighter
air
jet?
fight. Yeah, fighter, air fighting.
The Arrow was the culmination of a series of design studies begun in 1953 that examined improved versions of the Avro Canada CF-100 Canuck. After considerable study, the RCAF selected a dramatically more powerful design, and serious development began in March 1955. The aircraft was intended to be built directly from the production line, skipping the traditional hand-built prototype phase. Wow. The first Arrow Mach 1 RL201 was rolled out to the public on October 4th, 1957, the same day as the launch of the Sputnik 1. Flight testing began with RL201 on March 25th, 1958, and the design quickly demonstrated excellent handling and overall performance, reaching Mach 1.9 in level flight. Powered by the Pratt & Whitney J75, another 4 Mach 1s were completed, RL202, RL203, RL204, and RL205. The lighter and more powerful Orenda Iroquois engine was soon ready for testing, and the first Mach 2 with the Iroquois RL206 was ready for taxi testing in preparation for flight acceptance tests by RCAF pilots by early 1959. So where'd all this go around? On February 20th, 1959, Prime Minister John Diefenbaker abruptly halted development of both the Arrow and its Iroquois engines before the scheduled project review to evaluate the program could be held. 2 months later, the assembly line, tooling, plans, existing airframes, and engines were ordered to be destroyed. The fuck? The cancellation was a topic of considerable political controversy at the time, and the subsequent destruction of the aircraft in production remains a topic for debate among historians and industry pundits. The action effectively put Arrow out of business, and its highly skilled engineering and production personnel scattered. Why the fuck would they do this? This sounds like a conspiracy.
Yeah, if you scroll down, I think it was an election is the answer to that.
What do you mean? It was an election?
Yeah, if you go political issues, it's. I think I'm on the same page as you. Avro Canada.
Keep going. Production. Oh, okay. From 1953, some senior Canadian military officials at the Chief of Staffs began to question the program. The Chief of Staffs... So the thing is, this plane was like actually like an incredible achievement. Like it was an engineering
Well, it was fine. I think like it was competitive is really what it comes down to.
Okay.
Which is all that matters. But
in June 1957, when governing liberals lost the federal election and a progressive conservative government under John Diefenbaker took power, the aircraft's prospects began to noticeably change. Diefenbaker had campaigned on a platform of reining in what conservatives described as rampant liberal spending. Nonetheless, by 1958, the parent company had become Canada's third largest business enterprise and had primary interests in rolling stock, steel, and coal electronics, with aviation with 39 different countries under the Avro Canada banner. So this company that was making the Avro was the third largest business enterprise.
Yeah, apparently.
In September 1957, the Diefenbaker government signed the NORAD, North American Air Defense Agreement, with the United States, making Canada a partner with American Command and Control. The USAF was in the process of completely automating their air defense system with the SAGE project and offered Canada the opportunity to share this sensitive information for the air defense of North America. One aspect of the SAGE system was the Beaumark nuclear-tipped anti-aircraft missile. Sounds fucking scary. This led to studies on basing Beaumarks in Canada in order to push the defensive line further north, even though the department was found to be extremely costly. Deploying the missiles alone was expected to cost $164 million Canadian, while SAGE would absorb another $107 million. Not counting the cost improvements to radar, Minister of National Defense George Perks projected these initiatives would raise Canada's defense spending by as much as 25 to 30%. Defense against ballistic missiles was increasingly prioritized. The existence of Sputnik raised the possibility of attacks from space, and as the year progressed, word of a missile gap spread. So 1953, 1957. So this is like in like a short time. An American brief of the meeting with Perks records his concern that Canada could not afford defensive systems against both ballistic missiles and manned bombers. It also stated Canada could afford the Arrow or Beaumark SAGE, but not both.
Yeah, to put it in perspective, I just looked it up on the Bank of Canada website. That's, I assume, 1957 numbers. That's $2 billion. 2025 numbers, $165 million. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, yeah. Okay. And they're spending this money pretty fast, seems like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, Canada's defense budget is $15 billion, I think.
There was a Soviet interest in the Avro Arrow and significant spying and infiltration of the program. A Soviet detector and former spy codenamed Brick, alias David Sobolov, confessed to the RCMP that he ran a spy ring within the Avro Canada. Another spy codenamed Lind was involved in stealing and passing on top-secret documents, including airframe and engine drawings, photographs, and test data to the KGB. Historical understanding of the issue of spying, let alone the basis and truth of reasoning, competition, and feasibility, cost, compromise, obsolescence, or otherwise, behind the end of the program has been fraught, as Canada does not have a policy of timed systematic release of historical documentation and intelligence or in public administration, except in access to information processes.
That's, yeah. I mean,
they shut it down.
I think one of the, like, if you looked at the beginning of this, of the political crisis part, like it mentioned, and this is still a problem today, the challenge of that was coming from the Marine and the Army side of the armed forces, right? Because this budget, I looked up, $30 billion is about what Canada's spending
right now.
Yeah, a year.
On defense.
On defense, yeah, that's 2023. So that's, you know, that's a sizable amount of money. But like, you're not buying, like, it means that this has changed a little bit. Canada changed how it did accounting, or how it does accounting for procurement to mid 2010s, but, or mid 2000s, I don't know, a little bit ago. But that means if you're buying a boat or a plane, that's a big chunk of your yearly budget that's just gone, right? And that $30 billion is not all procurement, right? That's salaries, that's maintenance, that's all of that. So when you make decisions like buying new planes, or buying a new boat, or buying a new armored carrier, or whatever it is, right? That's money that the other branches are not getting. So there's internal competition as well on where this money goes. And I mean, this one, once again, don't know this case very much, but to me, it sounds like the Army and the Navy essentially lobbied to get the program cut because it was costing too much money. It was taking so much of that total budget and moving it towards the Air Force side, and the other two branches were...
This is interesting. Within 2 months of the cancellation, all aircraft engines, production, tooling, and technical data were ordered scrapped. Man, can you imagine being an engineer on this project? How devastating that would be? But someone's just like, nah, just delete all the shit that you just did. And the thing that you were working on was trying to make an aircraft with superior handling and superior speed as it flies and rockets through the fucking sky.
For like a decade. This is not like a 3-month process either, right?
That's what you're working on. And you're seeing the numbers go up. You're doing the math. You're talking to your team. You're like, man, we hit Mach 1.9 on this thing. Following the cancellation of the Avro Arrow project, CF-105 chief aerodynamicist Jim Chamberlain led a team of 25 engineers to NASA's Space Task Group to become lead engineers, program managers, and head of engineering NASA's manned space program. They drained.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Even in 19... Yeah, I mean, if the U.S... Because, like, this is also the thing, right? They mentioned the NORAD partnership, but...
Oh, brain drain.
It doesn't make sense for... And this is, like... It doesn't make sense as... I want to caveat that. Yeah. But, like, why would we spend however much it costs to develop an Avro plane when you can just buy the Boeing one, right? Like, that's the question that, at the end of the day, I think matters a lot. And, like, there's arguments to both sides for sure. But that's a big challenge for Canada. Is it's so easy to buy from the U.S., especially on Air Force side, because of the fact that pretty much all our equipment has to be fully interoperable with the U.S., right? Because we're sharing an air defense area. And so it's hard to justify buying a Canadian or making a Canadian plane when you can just buy it from the U.S.
I think the way to think about it in kind of like general, it's like when you do a project, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you do something yourself, you build out the capacity. Like you need to develop the capacity to do that thing, and you develop the capacity to do that thing from doing it.
Yeah.
With this, it's like they were trying to build this, like really this plane, and they were obviously trying to like push the bounds of engineering as they were doing it.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, they had to like put specific teams together. They did it over many years. So the talent there, they did it in iterations. They didn't just like make one version of this plane and then it's like they worked on prototypes. They had to like figure this out. One plane maybe could do this thing well, but it still wasn't like going fast enough or something. And so they kept iterating on it. And as they're doing that, they're learning things. They're learning about they're pushing their understanding of engineering. They're pushing their understanding of how to work as a team. They're developing an understanding of the personalities of the kinds of people that can effectively work on these projects versus the people that can't. Yep. They're finding patterns in order to like do very difficult engineering projects like that. They're writing documentation. They have synergy. They have like jokes that they talk to each other. They have like little words that they use to reference particular concepts and patterns that are only unique to what they're working on. They have a little subculture developing based on like everything that they're doing. And all of that is the product of pursuing a project, right?
Yeah.
All that shit's gone.
Yep. Immediately.
That's right. Yeah. And that's what you don't get when you just buy from the outside.
Absolutely not.
And if you keep doing that over time and you don't have like you lose you lose your capacity to like make like innovative things.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Right? And even just right, like these are really complex projects. I mean, maybe the 1957 one is, I don't know how involved. I mean, they said 30, like that was a 39 country partnership, right? They said they
had... For
the Avro, they said that company operated in 39 countries, I think, under the banner, AV.ROE, I think, banner. Like these are complex projects. You're building an industry. Like you're not building a plane. You're building an entire supply chain. And so,
is there any physical prototype of the Avro Arrow existing? or did they destroy every single one?
I think when you were scrolling, I saw there was something in a museum. Someone
That
stole
was a
kit
CH.
from a museum. Oh,
I think that was a
okay.
CH, whatever that one was. The one they still have.
Uh,
Is there
I think
any,
it's Downview Park.
but is that like a replica?
I think it's from like the initial.
But you know what I mean? Do they actually have like the real plane? Like, is there any
Parts of it.
just parts?
There was
Did-
they like smuggled parts. It says here somewhere.
The nose cone section of the Avro Arrow, currently on display at the Canadian Aviation Museum, was smuggled out of the Avro
Malton.
aircraft plant in Malton by members of the RCAF Flying Personnel Medical Establishment on Avenue Road. RCAF station on Avenue Road, where it resided for many years and was employed in high altitude work. Wow. Okay, so what else have we learned? What we've learned is that, what have we learned so far? We've learned a lot of the population's at the bottom
Yep.
of the country.
yeah. Canada's a challenging context
Yeah,
in which to do.
a lot of the country's inhabitable.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of like roads, and it's cold in
Mhm.
places like Yellowknife.
Yeah.
They have long days and short days, and they have a Vietnamese restaurant
They
there.
do. Yeah.
And then we have the Avro Arrow, which was like this incredible engineering feat. The company that made it was the third, at one point, like the third biggest business in Canada.
Yeah.
And then one day, with over like a 5 to 6 year period,
Yeah.
they just said, fuck this
Yeah,
company.
we're out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're out. And then just like destroyed everything that these guys made.
Yeah.
Those guys are like, let's get out of here.
Yeah. Go work for the U.S.
Yeah, go work for the U.S. Interesting. And so what is like what is our, like, have we done anything interesting? Like, this is visionary stuff, this kind of stuff, like the
Yeah.
Avro Arrow, right?
Mhm.
This is like someone saying like, hey, let's do something very interesting. Let's do something very compelling.
Yeah.
What are other projects like that Canada has pursued? I guess within this realm, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I guess like the Canadian Arm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Was that also with defense tech?
I don't know. I would guess so. Space and defense were really closely related for
Okay.
most of the 20th century. My best guess would be something to do with Navy. That's been the industry out of all the defense areas that Canada's that exist. Canada's really focused in on the Navy. They kept the shipyards alive, the military shipyards, even in periods like even post Cold War, when all the funding got cut. Those the big ones got saved. Navy in Quebec City, and there's one in BC as well, I think. Those have been, but like I think it's the Halifax class of ships. I don't think they're very good.
Yeah.
Halifax class. They might be old. Yeah, like 1992. But I was reading some criticism of them, so I don't know. Yeah.
There's got to be something here. Night vision enhancements, radar signal processing, Canada Arm technology. While NASA's Canada Arm is civilian, the robotics expertise came from defense contractors by Spar Aerospace, leading to surgical robots and industrial automation. All right, so the Canada Arm. Defense contractors Bombardier and CA developed lightweight, strong composites for material aircraft that later revolutionized civilian aviation and automotive industry. So we have like a history of pride and culture around our aerospace, right?
Yes, and
does that still exist now?
Yes, I think so. I mean, it got hit pretty bad a couple of years ago when Bombardier's aerospace got sold to Airbus. That was pretty rough. But one thing that's also it's in this list, but I do want to emphasize is there is a reality where Canada doesn't need to make planes, because making radars, I know sights, like gun sights, Canada is pretty good at. When you think about a defense industry, I think there is a question about whether Canada actually is big enough, is capable enough, like economically has the capacity or the demand to actually be a country that has major like tier 1 or apex producers like a Boeing or an Airbus or a Lockheed Martin. And maybe it's fine, or maybe it's even preferable to have these Aero Dev Tech, which makes landing gears for planes, or whatever. No other ones come to mind right now. But like, it's fine to make parts, right? If you're the one making the cutting edge parts, you're part of that supply chain, and you have security. You have economic outcomes, right? Like, these are very complex. There's teams. These companies are hundreds or thousands of people's big, and you have both the security aspect of being necessary to make, like, the US can't stop selling Canada planes, because if it does, we just stop selling them the parts that go into those planes, and they have problems, right? So there is that kind of push and pull effect going on the security side. And on the economic side, like, I'm not convinced that the innovation and like economic and employment and community outcomes of building a full plane is much different than from building the landing gear and the radar and the wings and the developing the software for targeting and developing the software for there's a company.
Why is that? Why do you think that?
Well, because it's the same. Like, Boeing isn't, or Lockheed Martin isn't making a plane from, like, they're not taking aluminum and making it into a plane, right? They're buying a bunch of parts, and they do the final assembly, and they have some of the core technology to the plane, but they're not inherently, like, they are bigger because they sell more planes, but they don't have to be bigger, right? I don't know if that makes sense. Like, most of these supply chains are not fully vertically integrated, right? A lot of these, it's 50,
so why
60.
does that matter?
What do you mean? Why does that?
Why does it matter? Like, what's your point?
My point is, Canada maybe isn't making a cutting edge plane anymore, but I think we're still making a cutting edge radar.
Right.
We're still making a cutting edge landing gear, right? Like, Aero Dev Tech got a really big contract a couple months ago for to make landing gears. I think for one of the defense companies, I forget. But so, like, this capacity already exists in Canada, and I think a lot of the conversation very quickly shifts to we need a Canadian Lockheed Martin, right? We need a company in Canada that will make class 6 or 7 or whatever we're at right now fighter jets.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be that.
It doesn't have to be that. It can be we will have companies that make radars for class 6 or 7 fighter jets, right? That's also something, and it in a context like Canada's, where so much of our industry is small and medium enterprises, that makes a lot more sense, because you can't make a plane with a small or medium enterprise. You need to be Boeing, right? You need to be selling to 50 countries. You can't be selling to one. But you can make radars, right? You can be a 100-people company making radars, making the software behind it, making the measurements hardware. Like, that's doable, and that's within Canadian capacity. And that's also because it matters.
Why are you so interested in this defense tech stuff?
I don't know. That's a good question. I haven't been very introspective, I guess, on that point. But
like, why do you? Is this because this is like the angle you see as, like, in order to, like, help Canada improve in some way?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it's an interesting industry in and of itself, right? It's as someone who is really fascinated by government and the way government works, I think it happens to really bridge that gap between public and private quite interestingly, in a more synergistic way than a lot of the other, like, public-private partnerships people talk about, like healthcare or whatever. Like, those don't really make sense to me, but defense, it makes a lot of sense, right? Innovation, it makes sense. So
the challenge with it is just that, especially, like, if you think about it from the perspective of, like, creating technology in Canada, right? It's like, it's interesting because you have this, like, country that, like, this government has money. And so if they're putting, like, a large amount of money into, like, these kinds of projects, and if you're interested in creating new technology and you're interested in, like, engineering and stuff, it's this idea of being able to work on these, like, very futuristic projects that push the bounds of engineering in some way. It's, like, really exciting, but at the same time, it's like, who knows, it could, like, what the implications of working on that are, right? Like, that's kind of, like, the weird thing about it, How do you think about that?
What do you mean, the implications?
Well, I mean, like, you just, like, I guess this is where it's like useful to like have like a definition of dual use technology
Yeah.
and like what it means. But you know, at the very like broad strokes, it's like, I don't know, you're working on the Avro Arrow and it's like used to like kill families and villages and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
How do you think about that? And then also like, do you think about that at all, or?
I think it's a little bit outside of what I focus on. Like, I've obviously thought about it because I agree it's a big part of it. I mean, there's a really big moral and like ethical question about like working on missiles. Like, even if you're working on missiles to sell to the Canadian government, and theoretically, I can imagine people, even my classmates, getting very mad at this idea, but of the Canadian government being relatively good force internationally, but like some of those are going to get sold to countries in the Middle East that are going to start bombing each other, right? Or to India, and they're going to start bombing into Kashmir, right? Like, that's what weapons do. They kill people. But I do think I used to be very optimistic about this, right? I was like, if everyone just invested less in their military, we're all arms racing to the bottom, right? We're all investing more and more in our military just to be the one that has more money. And in a perfect world, we would all just not have a military, and then we'd save all this money. We could spend it on healthcare or whatever, and it'd be. I have come around to that, I guess, that that doesn't seem realistic. I don't.
Why do you think it's not realistic?
I'm not sure. I think whether it's human nature or some people are going to blame the capitalist system, neoliberalism, whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure I have a good answer for it, but I think there is something somewhere in the system we have, in the way our world works, where countries are interested in hitting each other. In like sending a missile over is a pretty simple way to get your point across, unfortunately. And so that's unfortunate. But I think the way I look at it is, if some people should definitely be fighting, so we have less war, so we have less military investment, so we have less conflict, death, all of the horrible things that come with war. I think where I'm landing in that whole chain is, there's people fighting on, over here, there's people fighting for the military to be more ethical, less military, whatever. I'm landing one step further. Okay, fight for this, but there's going to be some spending, whether it's 0.5%, 2%, 5%. If there's going to be spending, the way I look at it is, we might as well do something with it, right? I would rather Canada spend its 2, 3.5, 5%, whatever it spends on defense, on things that have tangible, positive effect for Canadians and for the world at large, than spend it on just buying missiles, right? On sending missiles, even to what I would consider a positive place to send missiles, like Ukraine, right? It would be nice if Canadian government could send missiles to Ukraine to help them. I would rather these missiles not just be, let's take $1 billion from the Canadian government, buy a missile that has no impact on the Canadian economy, and give it to Ukraine, and then they kill people with it, right? I would rather the government spend $1 billion into making a missile in Canada, and then through that you create engineers, like aerospace engineers, that either will develop expertise that allows them to work on other projects that have positive outcomes, or you'll develop like an engine that can be adapted for a plane, or you'll make drones that can be used to map forest fires, right? Things that, if there's going to be spending, you might as well do it in a way that actually helps. Mm-hmm. There is somewhere in the back of my mind the utopic view that it would be better to just have 0% defense spending, be Costa Rica, and life would be better, right? Unfortunately, I don't know if I've given up on that fight, but I think it's at least not a fight I'm fighting right now. If there's going to be spending, I would rather it be useful spending.
That's good.
Yeah.
Within so let's say you want to take that money and you want to like start systematically breaking down how do we like use it in the most effective way. Yeah. There's like existing categorizations of that, right? There's like EDT or something.
Emerging disruptive technology.
Emerging disruptive technologies. But like, what do you think about that? Like, so how do you think about that? Like if if we were to like, okay, I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah.
If this money is going to be spent, like it's almost like a different kind of fight. It's like, hey, maybe we can fight to like make this money more impactful.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how do you think about that? How would you approach it?
I mean, this really, I think, I actually think the list of emerging disruptive technology is quite good. I think it
What is the list?
yeah,
Jenny?
we can pull it up, but
EDT, emerging
NATO, I
disruptive.
think, is the
Yeah.
one you'll have the most detailed description of all of them.
Sorry, what is it? EDT?
Yeah, EDT NATO. Emerging disruptive technologies.
Yeah, so if you scroll down on this page, there's a list. It says NATO's innovation activities currently focus on 9 priority technology areas. Yeah, these ones.
You want to read these?
Sorry?
You want to read them?
Sure. The first one is artificial intelligence, autonomous systems, quantum technologies, biotechnology and human enhancement technologies, space, hypersonic systems, novel materials and manufacturing, energy and propulsion, and next generation communications networks. There's obviously some overlap in there. I think like if you're talking energy and propulsion in space, there's similar things that are going to happen in those areas. But what's interesting about, I mean, basically all of these is none of these are actually weapons, right? Like this is all things that are useful. These are all actual civilian use technologies, right? They all have obvious weapons purposes, but like it does not say missile on this, right? It says propulsion. And I think that's a really interesting way to look at it is you're going to develop a propulsion system. And yes, obviously this is NATO. You're developing it for a missile. Like I don't think you should blindfold yourself and act like, oh no, I'm just following orders, just making propulsion systems. It's not my problem what they do with it. But you are just making propulsion systems, right?
In a way, yeah.
And that can be used to, send satellites to space. That can be used to power, commercial airlines are not jet propelled, but like possibly, right? If you're developing materials, yes, they're going to be used for ship armor, but like it's also, it also has purposes for making buildings more earthquake resistant, right? Like these have really obvious connected purposes. And so they're pretty easy to abstract. Like they are abstract enough that as long as you keep them to this level of abstraction, there is really obvious ways to say, okay, we're going to put out, a new ideas program. We're going to say you have to make pretty much what Diana is doing, right? We're going to put out a competition for funding. We're going to give you $5 million if you can give us a good pitch for next generation communications network as it pertains to cross-Pacific communication, right? So you have obvious military purposes. Canada has deployment in the Pacific. They need to speak to Ottawa, and it needs to be protected. But you also have, like, that's also Canada to the Middle East. And if you have, for example, political dissidents who need to communicate with their family that's, in prison in a country in the Middle East, for example, that's a really obvious also cross-section that this technology could be used for, right? You get a signal or a telegram or WhatsApp before Meta purchased it, right? Like, and the advantage, I think, of having government do it is this becomes public, right? When the government develops these things, this is how we get the internet, right? The government is going to spend money. They're going to develop these things. They're going to get patented, right? Like this is going to be privately owned, but it means the research is at least public so people can build on it, right? It's not in a black box inside of Lockheed Martin where no one, like I can't tell you what Lockheed Martin is working on right now. No one can. It's secret, which is fine, right? They're doing defense stuff, but it means no one can, like if Lockheed Martin has a breakthrough tomorrow, it's going to take a really long time for anyone to start building upon that breakthrough because it will not be public for at least like multiple years, if not multiple decades, right? And so the advantage of getting the government in there is you have that openness, you have all that information on the website, and so people can work on it, and so people can know it exists, and so people can build upon it. And also in a lot of these, I don't know specifically for DA's program or NATO Diana, but for a lot of government funded research, the government keeps the ability to share that knowledge, right? They can use it for nonprofit purposes, like they can share it with a nonprofit community or a university. And so it really, it at its core is designed in a way that if you're investing in innovation through this lens, it has a public outcome kind of built in, right? So even though it is defense spending, even though it is targeted at making weapons, it will be, or at least it has a higher likelihood if you do it this way than if you do it through investing in Lockheed Martin to actually have a public good out of it.
So you really believe in this as like a path?
I think it makes a lot of sense. I think
for this country.
I think so. Yeah. I think the idea of, like, the U.S. does it differently, right? I think the U.S. is a good example. They do it differently. They have
with DARPA,
but a lot of U.S. I would be curious to actually see the share. I don't know what it looks like publicly funded research kind of angle / just them basically investing in the Lockheed Martins and in the Raytheons and all of that, the big defense companies. But I would guess a big chunk is going to those companies, essentially into a black box that the public doesn't know. And so that means I think there's a lot of defense innovation in the US that isn't shared, that doesn't get to benefit anyone except, I mean, obviously the shareholders for the defense companies, but the weapons that are being built. So
the other kind of interesting thing about this is that I guess if Canada did something like this, it would be new, right? I mean, like they have been, they've always been doing this, right?
Yeah, it's relatively common internationally. I think most NATO and NATO proximate countries have some sort of program that resembles this. I think doing it on a very large scale, China is once again a good example. China has pretty clearly approached defense spending in a dual use way, in the idea of if we're gonna do R&D, we're gonna do it in a way that helps our economy as well, or defense R&D, I should say.
They have a particular interesting philosophy towards it.
I think it's pretty much this. It's the way China invests in defense, at least outwardly. Once again, China, it's very hard to know what China is doing. They're not as open as other governments, and also from a personal perspective, I can't read what they put on their website. Yeah. I don't speak the language, but my understanding is China has really approached this from a defense, a dual use idea of, we're going to invest in AI, like their AI plan, which is a couple years old now. I think it's pre-COVID, really said we're doing AI because it has military uses, but also because it has civilian uses, right? So I think, so it wouldn't be totally novel in a few different ways, right? Like most countries already have an ideas style program or an innovator or innovation hub style program. And some countries, notably China is the one I know about, have a really focused or a dual use approach. But I think it would be more, in the NATO context, it would be relatively unique. I think like even a DARPA is quite niche, right? Like it is not the main investment arm of the US government. Mm. And so, but honestly, in the Canadian context, that's 5% of GDP. We're talking a very big chunk of the federal spending. How much is it? I don't know. I know of the
5% of GDP, and it's currently at like 1.8.
Canadian GDP 1.8 trillion, something like that.
No. I'm saying defense spend is currently 1.8% of GDP, and
less than that, 1.4, I think.
And they're going to bring it up to 5%.
Theoretically.
That's a lot. That's a big change. No? Yeah, isn't that hard to do?
Yes. It's
current Canadian defense spending. Yeah. So how much is that though?
So
how much money is that of the 1.5? I don't know. Spending.
It's 30 billion in 2023. I think it's like 45 billion. It's already a big chunk of
$45 billion
of the I think that's
then
probably about what it is or what it's
that's
supposed
at
to be this year.
1.3.
That's at 2. It would be
That's at 2.
45. I think that's about what the 2% promise that Carney made for
5%.
March.
So it's way different.
Yeah, so the 5%, like it's still pretty unclear what it actually means. The 5%.
Like, what do you mean?
Well, so it's 5% with 1.5% of it being defense-related spending, I think is the wording they use, something similar to that. And it seems to be that they are, we've talked about this a little bit, but like already the way NATO calculates defense spending is pretty broad. That 1.5% chunk seems even broader. So it seems like we're maybe more talking about 3.5 than 5.
Okay.
That would actually be what most people would look at and like point to as defense oriented spending. But it's really, like I said, it's really hard to tell because they're not that explicit about any of this.
But you're mostly interested in this EDT thing.
Yeah,
mostly, right? Because if they have like, let's say 5% of GDP and like it's spent on all of these other areas, like for example, like buying ammunition, right? You're not interested in that.
No, I don't think.
Right?
I mean, it's obviously, if you're going to have an armed force, that's obviously spending that needs to be done. But I think that's not for Canada. I don't think that's very useful. I mean, I think I'm quite explicit in the article we were talking about at the beginning. Like, I think there is like a reality where Canada holding an actual, like having a substantial armed force is kind of delusional. Like the example I point to, I don't think it's in the article, but I've pointed to previously is Poland, right? Mm-hmm. Poland and NATO, people talk a lot about it because it's the one that has the biggest chunk. I think they're close to 5% of their GDP on defense. That's less money than Canada spends, right? In raw dollar numbers, it is less money because Poland is not as wealthy as Canada. And so that points to the weakness with using a percent of GDP metric as contribution. But it also points to the fact, but with that smaller amount of money, or that similar amount of money that Canada has, Poland is a way bigger army because one Polish soldier costs a lot less money than one Canadian soldier. A Canadian soldier costs a lot of money. I don't know what the figure is, but I would guess it's over 100K to have one dude in the army, right? Per year. So it is kind of, I think it is kind of delusional to think Canada is going to have a standing army that has any realistic chance of competing in an actual war. Like 70. I mean, I think the income's probably 60K, but like they get pension and health insurance and all of that, like all that
and
combined.
Other costs.
Yeah, I would guess total it's and equipment, all that. Like, yeah. So I think it makes a lot more sense for Canada to go, okay, we're going to contribute to this alliance. This alliance makes sense to us, but it's not going to be by hiring people. That doesn't make sense. Like having Canadian soldiers, I'm sure they're very competent, and I've heard great things about the Canadian Armed Forces and their ability, and the fact that they're very not conservative. They're very strategic, right? They've developed a really good expertise in mission planning and in mission design. And like that's all useful, but at the end of the day, if the idea of doing defense spending is we have to be prepared for war, that does not make sense. Canada, if it goes to war with Russia, will not beat Russia on a man-to-man conflict. Like, Russia will have 10 times easily more soldiers, way more, probably even more than that, right? And I think Ukraine is also a good example, right? Like Ukraine's army it was at the beginning, I'm sure it's still way smaller than Russia's, but they're holding. Because they have, like, I don't know what the figure is at this year, but like $100 billion a year of NATO investment coming in the form of equipment, right? Equipment and technology clearly matter more. Mm-hmm. And so I think I see Canada's role in NATO as kind of a supportive role, we have this population that's educated. We have these cutting edge industries. We have this ability to create a really powerful knowledge that right now is a lot of it is getting brain drained to the US, or a lot of it is being purchased by the US when it becomes. But if we invest in that, we can be a 5% of GDP, which is a lot of money, right? Which is going to be in cash number one of like probably top 5, top 4 in the alliance. That is innovation. We're going to be the ones that come up with the things you use on the battlefield because, and I understand to go back to the moral argument, like saying Canadian lives are worth more than Polish lives, for example, is insane. They're obviously not. But if you're looking at spending, they are. Like, it costs more. If you are looking at the alliance as an alliance, as a unit, one Polish soldier costs less money than one Canadian soldier. And so Canada's way better off using that money more effectively. It doesn't make sense to send Canadian soldiers to the battlefront if you're actually thinking about the alliance in an efficiency way.
So amongst the emerging disruptive technologies, when you wrote your piece, you were saying that your kind of areas were like artificial intelligence and like drones.
And drones, yeah.
Wait, before we talk about this, another kind of interesting thing that's happening as it relates to like innovation on like the battlefield or whatever, like the technology, right? It's like the things that objects can do because of AI is like fundamentally different, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you look at, pull up DJI's website. This company I find is really interesting. DJI, my bad. Yeah. This company is really interesting to me, and I haven't studied the history of it, but I bought the DJI like Ronin Steadicam thing, and it freaked me out a little bit. The way it moved and shit.
Yeah.
It looked like a weapon.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, yeah, go to this Osmo Pocket 3 thing, see if you can go learn more. It's really interesting because like look at this. When you use one of these products, like the way the Steadicam just like and how smooth it shifts and stuff, or if you use this Osmo, the way it like holds a Steadicam, the way it rotates and stuff. This is like if a camera was a robot. That's what this is. This is a robot. Look at that. See that?
Yeah.
Can we look into if they have defense tech spending as well? DJI. Like, do they have any government defense contracts? Because if you go specialized at the top, go to specialized, top nav. Sorry, man. Very top. Specialized. Yeah. Go to agriculture. Look at this. The DJI Agris T100. Like, how? There's no way this company's not making weapons. Right? Like, think about it. Like, they make incredible products.
Yeah. I mean, I just Googled it. Apparently, they were put on a list, so they can't sell to China. So that almost certainly.
Wait, isn't DJI?
Oh no, it is.
Chinese
So they can't
company?
sell to the U.S. Sorry, wrong way. Yeah.
They were just
the United
put on a
States
list?
in October 2022. The United States Department of Defense added DJI to a list of Chinese military companies operating in the U.S.
That was October
2022,
of
and apparently
this
they're
year?
suing. No, 2022.
Of 2022. Okay, sorry,
yeah.
my bad. Yeah.
No worries. And so apparently they're suing the DoD right now, but
Could be banned by the end of this year. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not an expert or anything, but like when I use that thing, I'm like, this feels like some kind of like weapon. Like it feels like. So they do have defense funding, right? They would for sure.
Almost certainly. Like, I mean, there are political reasons to ban exports, but this is kind of a niche thing, like the DoD putting things on the defense list, and this is not like a major company that would get a ton of media coverage from it being banned. I would assume if they put it on that list, they have reason to believe it is being used for military purposes.
It has to be, man. Go to DJI's website again. Go back to this agriculture thing, yeah, and just can we learn more? Big drone, big jobs. Look at this. Watch this video.
Yeah, like. I mean,
hit like watch video there, yeah.
I was trying to see if it was on Amazon.
Look at this. That's like water, but why can't it be just like...
Yeah, like neurogas, right? Like that is... or like napalm, right? Like those, that
this
is...
a flamethrower.
Yeah. I mean, like Ukraine was buying $15 drones from China and putting a grenade on it and flying it into people.
That's
right?
crazy. Was that true?
Yeah, that was how they did it at the beginning of the war. Like, you don't need that much. dual use is, it doesn't even need to be designed with dual use in mind.
Yeah. So the thing was that you can pause this. Nuts. So the thing I was trying to say, the reason I was showing you this was because there's also like this, like the world is changing from a technical perspective, right? We're moving into a world where it seems that physical objects can do far more than they ever could, right? Mainly in that like each of these objects, like we're moving in a world where more things are like robots.
And
right?
these are cheap, right? Like that's a big thing. A drone. Like these drones are, I mean, I don't know about that watering one, but like the Ukraine thing, slap a grenade on a $15 drone, like that's a missile, right? Like that's basically what it is. And that's why like the F-35 we were talking about earlier, that's like $100 million plane at least. A $15 drone, like yes, those planes are super capable, right? They're basically not even comparable. But you can do a lot with $100 million worth of Temu drones, right? Like that is what is the reality. That's the comparison you're playing. So
wow.
And like obviously there's the kinetic force aspect to all this, but I was trying to find. I don't know if it's public, so we're gonna go hypothetically. Amazon, AWS, right? They have a lot of compute. They have they have some drone technology happening, and so hypothetically they could go in Ukraine and map the entirety of the country and essentially live map Russian advances onto Ukraine defense forces, like defense settlements, and then you have live tracking of where your enemies are coming, right? Like that's not kinetic. You're not killing anyone. You're not. But that is an immense advantage, right? You don't have to send someone to go look for the people. You don't have to like build a communications network where like someone is like slipping a paper because they see like they're spying on like the officers meeting. Like you have a lot. You can just send a $15 drone. It gets shot down, whatever. Like who cares? You have a map as of 5 seconds ago of every single person in this area.
Yeah.
Right?
Look at this. Researchers at the University of Hong Kong have built a drone that can easily navigate uncharted territory using artificial intelligence. It can zip through the air at speeds over 44 miles per hour using AI to plot a safe and efficient flight path. Play this. Is that real?
It's Reuters. I believe that.
No, I mean like, is that almost looks 3D? You'll pause this for a sec. You know, like biomimicry, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like you look at a plane, right? It's like they're trying to model it off like a bird in some way and stuff like that. And this is like a fucking insect.
Yeah. Yeah. And like this is small. And like it's like, mapping that entire forest it was navigating through, right? Like you saw the model they had of, I assume this is how the AI sees. Like you can do a lot from that. Now you know the exact territory that you'd be advancing into. Right? So, like this is, and like it's flying near the ground. It's really hard to see. I would assume it's relatively loud, but like
outside of the sound, you can't really.
You can't tell.
You need another counteracting AI.
Yeah, and
system.
you put a little like camo on this.
Yeah, this stuff is all gonna become like AI fighting AI. Because I guess once it gets to a point where the movements are like too darty, unpredictable, too fast, you can't have a human being defending against this. So then you need a counteracting AI anti-drone system, which I can like somehow like figure out what this thing's doing and like interesting. Did you see that thing where like the Ukraine had like used like drones to like take out a whole bunch of planes?
Yeah.
That's like another interesting thing, right? It's like it's kind of, that's like startup disruption kind of thing, where it's like when a new technical paradigm reveals itself, all of a sudden people can counteract the existing like structures, the power structures, right?
Yeah.
Using like far less money.
Exactly.
And yeah, and when like a technical paradigm is transforming, it's transforming, like these kind of weird things happen where like the power dynamics don't make any sense. These drones come in, and the cost of these drones relative to the damage that they did on these planes, it's like the planes were designed in a world where there were no such things as drones, and so they don't account for that. There's no way to defend for it, and so now you're making these drones for like really cheap, and they just went in there and they just blew it up.
Yeah.
Which is like historically, I think that's the way it works, right? Like if you study like the history of the world, there's these kind of like technical paradigms that happen that fundamentally shift the power structures of the world. For example, at one point when human beings only operated on land, your geographical position was like really important.
Yeah.
It had huge influence on like how powerful your country was. But then as people started to like make like boats and these vessels that could like travel long distances, and your geographical position mattered less, because you could, if you weren't in an optimal geographical position, you could like take the boat, go like get some supplies, go to where you need to attack. Now, while you're attacking, the boat can go back, get more supplies. And so the idea that some humans could navigate the water and other humans could not, then fundamentally changed the power structures of the world. And this is kind of like another thing that seems to be happening now with this, like these AI computational abilities, or these like emerging technologies where, you know, if people have like robots and things that can do fundamentally different things that other people can't, I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah. And I don't know that it needs to even be complete, like fundamentally different. This is a couple, this is actually from April. There's another example that's a little older that I was thinking of, but this is an NPR article from April this year that says Houthi rebels in Yemen have shot down 7 US Reaper drones in less than 6 weeks. Right? A Reaper drone is $35 million.
A Reaper drone?
Reaper MQ-9. It's big.
It's $35 million.
It's a plane, right?
It's a drone the size of a plane?
Yeah, it's a remotely controlled
Holy
plane,
shit,
basically.
that must be loud as hell.
I don't actually know that they're loud. They're supposed to be extremely discreet.
Really?
Yeah.
But like
I'm
small
sure
drones are really loud.
Yeah, I'm sure we can find a flight test video if you want to see, but I don't know that I've ever seen one, to be honest, like a flight test. I've seen pictures, but they have missiles, they can bomb, they're used to bomb things. But the question here is, how many, like if the drone is $35 million, how many $100 drone does it take to shoot it down, right? Because if it's less than $35 million worth of $100 drones, like they're not doing fundamentally different things, but they are changing the game, right?
We don't see it, John. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, right. Like you are changing how that works.
That's the drone?
Yeah.
Oh, I pictured something different. I've seen these
not
before.
Commercial plane size, but like basically.
So they call these drones as well?
Yeah,
so a drone is an unmanned aircraft.
Basically, yeah. Usually the like more official, like academic or military term is UAV, like unmanned aerial vehicle, is more generic, but we don't have sound. It didn't sound that loud. Oh.
This stuff is scary, no?
Yeah. Like, I don't know what the range on those are, but
even just looking at it is scary. I would be scared to even touch the thing. It's so cool and so sad at the same time.
It is, yeah. But once again, like this is all the technology that goes into a drone like this is the same technology that goes into flood mapping, right?
Yeah.
So like I would rather we don't build Reaper drones. But if we're going to build anything, I'd rather we build a Reaper drone that can be repurposed into a flood mapping drone, or like a
if we're already going to build
if we're
something.
already going to build it.
Did you read a lot of books or anything to get to that perspective? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess like a couple books, a lot of academic articles, mostly a lot of conferences. I mean, if you're really, this is a longer term thing, but if you're really interested in this area, every year, the CDA, Canadian Defense Association, runs a conference in February, I think it is. It's quite expensive to go, but they essentially invite people from US, Canada, a couple Canadian allies, like heads of military. Like last year, we had the Minister of Defense in Canada, Chief of the Armed Forces in Canada, Chief of Navy in Canada was there, and there were people from the US. I'm trying to recall who they were. I think Air Force was there, and I don't know, like people who are high up in the military to talk about what they see being important factors in defense. And they usually have like a technology panel. It's a 2-day conference, right? And I had the chance to attend it this year. It's very interesting to see.
What did you find? What did you see?
Like just them talking about how they see evolving. There was I forget her name, but the chief of the Canadian Armed Forces, when she talked about, they're done panel style, right? A bit like this.
Yeah.
And she talked about like the role of dual use infrastructure, not just technologies, right? Like for example, she mentioned making she mentioned building an airport in the Canadian North, which serves military purposes. You can fly drones out of it, but it also serves civilian purposes. Now that community, the small villages that live around where the airport was built, have easier access to the world, right? They can fly to Canada or to Ottawa, right? Or to, and then from Ottawa, they can fly anywhere pretty much in the world, right? So this infrastructure, it also serves supply chain reasons, right? They can get food for cheaper, for example, because now it can fly right next to them. It's just really interesting to see them. Or the chief of the Navy, I think, talked about basically automatically piloted ships, right? Ships that don't require as big of a crew. And like it gives you a really interesting insider perspective on. It's recorded if you want to see
it is?
Yeah. Obviously, because it's recorded means you don't get there is no secret information that gets released there. But it gives you a really good insider perspective on what these people who are living this context think is coming and what they're really concerned about. I also. Yeah.
You were saying you also?
No, I was trying to I forgot what I was going to say. I lost my train of thought.
You broke it down as like the two things to focus on is like artificial intelligence and drones, right?
Yeah. I think at least for Canada, I think like if you're Austria, for example, biotech makes a lot of sense. They have a big biotech industry, as far as I know. So like this is not a universal, but for Canada, I think those are really the two areas that have a lot of potential. I know I was reading, there was a report, it's a little bit older now, it's maybe 2019, my laptop died, I can't look it up, but it was the Canadian Council of Research or something, that it was looking at Canadian research capacity, and essentially the argument, I think it's cited in my paper actually, but the argument was Canada's falling behind, like our research isn't as good as it used to be. But
what does that mean?
Like we're just not outputting as much research as we had in the past. But they broke it down in a number of categories, and material science was one of them, which is one of the EDTs. And apparently Canada used to be quite good at material science. I was not aware of that, but or used to be at least at the forefront of the world's material science research. So like that's also like those are two examples that AI and drones were two examples that I picked because I really see like I think the capability is already there.
Yeah.
But I do. I don't think it needs to be limited to that, right? Canada used to have a massive biotech sector. Canada used to be one of the really innovation hubs for pharmaceuticals, and then we stopped funding it. And like that's pharmaceuticals is an industry that pretty much only exists with government subsidy for good and bad reasons. I maybe argue mostly bad, but it is the world we live in.
Before I want to talk about this computational social science stuff.
Yeah.
Before we do that, let's talk about one more thing.
Of course.
There's this link, John, that I sent you. It's the second link in the PDF if you want to look it up. Somebody asked us to investigate this. It's Canada. Is this the one? Yeah, I think this is it. So innovation for defense excellence and security, like ideas, is offering grants to support innovations and concepts that advance NORAD modernization, science, and technology for future-proof North America's defense against aerospace and maritime threats. Ideas is looking to fund early-stage solutions, technology readiness levels, TRLs 1.1 to 6. Do you know what that means? Technology readiness level?
No, I don't know what the levels refer to.
In the following domains: quantum technologies, autonomous technologies, counter unscrewed and aerial systems, Arctic mobility and navigation of military platforms, including ships, land vehicles, and aircraft, scalable, energy efficient, and sustained power and energy solutions for current and future development of national defense and Canadian Armed Forces. So quantum, autonomous, counter unscrewed aerial systems. Uncrewed.
Yeah.
My bad. Counter uncrewed aerial systems. It's interesting. It says counter, but it's Arctic mobility and navigation of military platforms.
Yeah, that means like vehicles, like things.
Yeah. Scalable, energy efficient, and sustainable power and energy solutions for current and future department. So let's break this down like dual use wise. Sure. Quantum technologies, I got to investigate that more. My understanding of it is like way too limited.
Yeah.
But this comes up a lot.
It does. My understanding is also pretty limited. I don't think we want to delve into this. I am skeptical of quantum technologies.
Yeah.
It has been a big word, a buzzword for at least half a decade now. I remember people talking about it pre-COVID and going, "Oh my God, like this is the next big thing." I have yet to see something come out of it. The things I've read about potentials seem very exciting. I think one of the reasons it remains at the top of the agenda is that if it is figured out, let's say by China, and we don't have it figured out, we're in big trouble, right? For cryptology reasons or cryptography reasons, but yeah, I mean the quantum technologies. I think civilian side is like it goes closer to the communication network, cryptography, privacy, all of those questions around the communications. I think is, as far as I know, the biggest area where quantum technology is. It's not an area I have a ton of knowledge in, but where it has a lot of potential. And I really think the quantum technology point is more of a race concern than a disruptive concern. But some people have very high hopes for quantum technology. I have to say I remain skeptical, but it's... Yeah.
Autonomous technologies is basically robots,
drones,
cars, vehicles.
Yeah, pretty much
anything that can make decisions on its own.
Yeah.
That's cool.
The counter uncrewed aerial thing. It's essentially anti-drone.
Yeah.
Anti-drone, yeah.
My guess, I mean, we could look at what the actual projects they put out are. My guess is that's radars. That would make the most sense to me.
I see.
That would be radar systems.
Maybe, and it's also interesting that they put it as a separate point from autonomous technologies. So I guess they're saying, yeah.
There's very big hesitation when you read military like statement documents and ethical guidelines to have autonomous decision making.
What do you mean?
So autonomous technologies, they are fine with if it makes, for example, like pathing decisions, or if it, and I think it makes sense. Like, I'm not pushing against this at all. The military is very hesitant to say we will allow algorithms, AI, whatever, to make decisions that have impacts. Like, we will not do AI targeting, right? Mm-hmm. The AI can pull up a list of targets and someone can pick from that list, but we will not have AI pick a list of target, choose one, send a missile, right? Yeah. There has to be a human in that chain. And so I think maybe that is why they separated, because the uncrewed aerial system, or the countering of this radars, right? But also anti-missile and anti-air would probably fall under that, would be my guess. and all of that. Like that involves attacks, kinetic force, and so they're probably hesitant to automate that. Would be my guess.
Arctic mobility and navigation of military platforms, including ships, land vehicles, and aircraft. Any dual use ideas?
Yeah, I mean, this goes to the infrastructure point, right? Like the airbase, for example, or the airport idea, but it also goes to, I mean, things like making ships or making cars where the battery doesn't drain in 10 minutes, or like any electronic battery that doesn't drain, that works in the cold, right? Or better insulation for buildings, or better shoes, clothing that helps that helps the military obviously operate in that area for longer periods, but also has pretty obvious, even if you don't live in the Arctic, right? Winter is cold, snow exists. You don't need Arctic conditions for Arctic equipment to make sense. I mean, the example that comes to mind is a lot of the technology that was developed for space missions, right? Astronauts' spacesuits is in winter jackets now, right? Because it's good isolation, it's good material, it makes sense. Arc'teryx sells it, right? So,
scalable, energy efficient, and sustainable power and energy solutions for current and future Department of National Defense. So this is like power and energy.
I would guess batteries and generators is probably the two things that they are looking at. I'm sure there's some like power distribution things they're thinking about. Like I don't know how. Once again, I don't know this much about this specific thing, but I know there are concerns right now in the Canadian military about if Canada has to deploy somewhere, our supply chains are pretty weak right now, and energy is a big part of that, right? Like being able to get power, whether it's through petroleum, like getting liquid power, or getting solid power through coal or any other fuel, to a camp, a base, whatever, and same way for actual electricity, hydrogen, whatever it may be. I would guess this probably encompasses all of that.
So it says this contest invites innovators to tackle the key priorities outlined in Canada's NORAD modernization plan. This contest will follow a stage-gated approach wherein successful applicants would undergo an evaluation and selection process to access financial incentives. The initial pool of funding for this first round of grants is $19 million. Scroll down a bit, John. Oh, so here, oh shit. Okay, so second generation quantum repeaters for distributed quantum sensing, photonic ink, amount $1 million. Year-round all-weather Arctic wind power, cognitive radio networks, anomaly detection with quantum machine learning. This is cool. Symbolic AI for optimal swarm interface for surveillance with human command and controlling using LLMs and VLMs. This is really interesting. Oh, yeah. UAS supported quantum network for distributed quantum sensing, University of Waterloo.
Yeah, that's probably across the street from where I'm at. The Perimeter Institute, they do quantum research.
Perimeter Institute?
Yeah, they're in Waterloo. They're just across the street from the Bossili School.
So how long is it? Can you scroll down more?
I would guess that's the 19th.
2025, July 20th. I wonder how fast they've deployed this cache.
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe look at the structure.
Okay. D&D CAF are seeking innovative solutions that will advance technologies that address emerging defense challenges and enhance operational capabilities. This contest invites innovators to tackle the key priorities outlined in Canada's NORAD modernization plan. The contest will follow a stage-gated approach wherein successful applicants will undergo an evaluation and selection process to access financial incentives. The contest has 3 rounds. Round 1, proposal submission. During the first stage of the contest, all applicants will complete an online submission describing their innovation and how it aligns with the challenge. Participants are encouraged to propose cutting-edge solutions that not only enhance current systems, but also anticipate and adapt to emerging threats. Proposals will be evaluated to establish a group of semi-finalists who will receive a share of $19 million prize fund for this round and move on to participate in round 2. Round 2 of this contest will occur 1 year after the selection of the semifinalists from round 1. During this round, semifinalists will present their projects through a demonstration or presentation where evaluators and subject matter evaluators and subject matter experts will assess each project's progress and the impact of its innovations. To accommodate the diverse nature of these demonstrations, evaluations may be conducted in person or virtually, depending on project requirements. Like if they're launching you can't just it's not going to be like a bunch of people standing up and demoing in front of an audience, because who knows, someone's working on a drone, someone's working on some like other propulsion thing.
They also, I would be really curious to see all these companies on a map, but just from the ones I know, this got divided up regionally for sure. I mean, just the fact that Nunavut, I saw Nunavut was in that list, so that almost confirms it. But yeah, like from the companies I know, you have about the 30-50 and then 20 split, which is 30% Quebec, 50% Ontario, and then 20% the rest of Canada split that you usually see in these. So that probably also means they don't want to, although out of with a $19 million budget, they might be able to, but they probably don't want to fly everyone to Ottawa.
The highest performing projects identified in this evaluation advance to be considered for the grand prize. Further details on evaluation criteria will be provided ahead of the demonstration or presentation. Round 3, grand prize finalists selected. Following the demonstrations, the evaluation team will carefully review each project to identify those that have shown outstanding innovation, notable advancement, and novel ideas. Further financial incentives will be awarded to the projects that demonstrate the highest achievements in innovation and impact throughout the contest. It's pretty cool. So it's a 2-year program, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, I would guess 3. I'm going to guess the last step is going to take a while, just based on how long this usually takes to evaluate. I looked up that the NORAD innovation was 2022. The modernization plan was announced in 2022. So it's strong, secure, engage, which is even older than that. But that's the previous policy, which is 2018. I want to say 2019. Strong, secure, engage. It's definitely late 2010s.
So what do you think of that program?
It makes sense. I mean, that seems like a good program. They're targeting some pretty interesting, I mean, the list of technologies, a lot of them I can absolutely see whatever discoveries they make out of that being used for other purposes. There's a couple universities in there. That's always good. I mean, that means usually universities, the output's going to be research papers, which is amazing, right? That means it's public, not patented, all of that, right? Which is, I think, really the goal. Yeah, I mean, this seems like a solid project, relatively fast. I think, I mean, it's interesting. I would be curious to see when they started the tendering process, right? When they put out the call for applicants. Because, like, if we assume 2022 is when they announced they were starting, and it's 2025, they've just chosen the first round from what I saw on the first page. Like, we're talking 3 years to choose, and then 2 years to develop something. That seems a little skewed in timeline.
If you compare something like this to like Y Combinator, it's interesting. Yeah. Because Y Combinator is like, I think like 4 months or something.
Yeah.
Or like 3 months.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason like there weren't startups in that list, right? Like if you look at the list of who applied to the competition, it's companies that don't need, like it's universities and larger companies. They don't need the money tomorrow. I mean, maybe some of the, like, I don't know, Irreversible, but like Thales is big, Photonic is big. Honestly, University of Toronto, FedEx is big. CSMC is a conglomerate, like, but not conglomerate. It was a
Lockheed Martin, Canada.
Lockheed Martin's in there,
You can't click on any of these and see their plans and stuff, right? They're like, these are really interesting projects. Ultra low power AI capabilities for enabling enhanced autonomous systems for defense applications. Like, this is cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you're curious, you can, like, it's $5 to do a request for information.
What do you get with that?
What they want to share. So you don't know, like, you essentially how it works. There's a website. You put in a request. You say try to be very specific, because they're less. The more specific you are, the faster you get a response usually, and the more likely you are to actually get what you want.
Who do I pay this money to?
Canadian government.
Oh,
it's just a processing cost. Like, it's not and they give you their file. Usually how it works, if they are willing to share it, or if they have to share it, they just give you what they did internally. Like, they don't make a new thing for you. They just share with you their documents. And like, I could see, like, it would take the max duration, which is 45 days, I think. But you could probably send them a request there might already be one, even if you look.
How would you improve this?
this program.
Yeah, because this is pretty dope.
Yeah,
Like,
I think
the project titles, like, I don't know what the reality is of how they're working, but the project titles are pretty cool.
Yeah.
I guess an obvious thing is like the turnaround time. You would
Turnaround
have to
time.
investigate that.
Yeah.
It's a 3-year program. The question is just, how long does it actually take to invent these technologies?
Well, that's what I'm questioning, right? If you're giving
Yeah.
these people 1 year to get something good enough to present,
Yeah.
which I don't know how substantive that presentation has to be, but assuming somewhat,
Do you think that's
not a
enough
ton of
time?
time.
No?
That means these are things they've already developed, would be my guess, right? Like they have a baseline, they already have a UAS supported quantum network, and they're adapting it to military, would be my guess of what you're seeing here. Because 1 year, well, you would know more than me what the innovation ecosystem looks like. That seems very short.
Oh, this is Irreversible Inc. Drawing inspiration from physics to design next generation AI processors. Irreversible is a chip design company developing ultra low power analog processors to enable energy efficient artificial intelligence. The company is creating disruptive hardware architectures and AI solutions for applications where energy efficiency is crucial, initially targeting edge and IoT use cases such as always-on smart sensors. They're based out of Quebec.
Yeah, they're actually in Sherbrooke in the quantum innovation zone, which means they also probably got a good amount of money from the Quebec government. 'Cause
Sherbrooke is the quantum innovation zone.
yeah, there's a specific area in Sherbrooke. So the Quebec government, I think there's 3 zones. They picked like 3 areas in the province that would be as specialized innovation zones. So there's quantum in Sherbrooke, there's AI in Montreal, and there's is it material maybe? I forget what the third one is. I think it's in Rimouski.
When did they do that?
A couple of years ago. It started maybe the first one. The Sherbrooke is older. That was the first one, I believe, which was maybe 2018 or 2019. It's the CAC government, so after 2018, but I don't know. I don't know when they were. I don't recall the exact dates, but last 5 to 6 years for sure.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
So that company is based out of Sherbrooke,
Yeah.
Irreversible Inc. I gotta go to Quebec, check all this stuff out.
Yeah, there's I'll ask. One of the projects I'm working on a project on the defense industry in Canada and trying to map kind of who the main actors are, and we're hoping to get some funding from the Quebec government for the first step, which is the province. But there was a previous project that was run. This is with a team, and people that were in the team prior to me joining ran one with Sherbrooke only. The city of Sherbrooke got MyTax, which is a innovation accelerator.
Oh,
thing.
MyTax, I've heard of this.
And so they got MyTax research funding to essentially do what we hope to do at Canada and Quebec scale for just the city of Sherbrooke. And so I could ask to see, it might be public, it almost certainly is public by now, but what they found, if you'd be interested. But yeah,
For sure.
I think they, which to me, this was requested by the city of Sherbrooke, so that to me tells me they're also looking at that dual use, because they're known for quantum, right? Like that's their whole thing. So if they're looking at defense industry in Sherbrooke, something tells me they're looking at using or thinking about dual use in a similar way.
Yeah. That breakdown of like, you know, the how to apply this stuff is like something that we can dive into another time. Like this idea that how to structure these programs, how to deploy this capital. Because like one is like the dual use of like how you're working on it, but then also there's other mechanics. There's like timelines, how fast can this stuff be made. Let's just do a last riff and then we'll wrap.
Yep.
But don't you have a flight?
Yeah, in 2 hours. It's at 2:40.
Okay.
So
we'll do the last thing. You probably got
2 hours. Exactly.
What's computational social science and why does this matter?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little unrelated, but it's
Right.
something I've been working on quite a bit. It's been kind of my passion project for the last 6-8 months. And it's really about the application of these new technologies to my interest is mostly to the public policymaking process. Most of the research is being done in more of an academic context, right? Doing research with it. But it's very basic level. It's things like using machine learning models to categorize speeches, right? There's a very interesting project that was run, or that is, I guess it's still ongoing, that is being run out of McGill University on UN General Assembly speeches on nuclear weapons, right? Because the challenge when you're looking, there's speeches from 1945 or from 1945 to today, right? So you're talking, it's 100 something speeches every year on average, maybe for 70 years, right? You're talking too much text to read through for humans, basically, but and also very nuanced text, right? Because when governments, when heads of states give a speech at the UN General Assembly, they don't say nuclear weapon, right? They'll say weapons of mass destruction. They'll say terrible weapons. They'll say apocalyptic weapons, right? They use very diplomatic language, and so this project tries to essentially use context-aware machine learning models to analyze these texts and see trends in how governments have talked about nuclear weapons. And this was one of the first projects I read about, and that really interested me because I think that is one of the big, I think that is going to be, and that touches to the other point you mentioned when you went down through the list of projects I shared with you, is one of the big challenges I think that's coming in the next 5, 10, maybe 20 years for government is there's a big capacity gap, right? Governments just don't have the capacity to do as many things as they need to be doing, right? I mean, the one that's in the news a lot is healthcare, right? We want Canadian healthcare to cover dental, to cover pharmaceuticals, to cover psychology, to cover every increasing list of treatments for cancer. That's expensive. That's more than it was covering 30 years ago. At the same time, we want lower taxes. So you have this push and pull where we want the government to be smaller, we want the government to spend less, we also want it to do more. And flip side, you have companies like, the Googles, the Amazons of this world that are getting bigger than I think companies have ever been. I mean, some people will go back to the East India Company and say that was bigger. Maybe, I don't know. But like you have these massive companies with millions of employees, literally, and insane amounts of money. And that's creating a dichotomy that I think is dangerous, right? Because government won't be able to compete with them. You'll have Amazon. If Amazon decides tomorrow it wants to publish articles about how government should be run, it will drown out anyone who is doing research in academia or government about how you should do public spending, right? And so it's a very niche example, but what I mean is that you will hit very quickly, or maybe we've already hit a point where government can't compete with the public sector, with the private sector. Like it cannot produce knowledge, right? Produce ideas as quickly as the private sector can, and it can't implement those ideas as quickly as the private sector can.
Why does that matter? Like what? And what does that have to do with?
What I mean is it matters because
computational social science, they can compete in that way or something.
Well, yeah, I think it's a really interesting area where the government can use these new technologies and these new approaches to doing research to bridge that gap a little bit. Because, I mean, ultimately that's all you can hope for, I guess, because if, like you asked why it matters, right? If it doesn't, I mean, does it matter is unclear. Personally, I would like to think that the government cares more about my well-being than Amazon does. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. We can have a philosophical debate about that. But I would rather my healthcare program is run by the provincial government than by Amazon, right? I prefer public healthcare than private healthcare. I have seen evidence that it is better. This is debated throughout the world, but I think government should run some things, and I am concerned that some companies are getting government-sized enough that they can actually compete with government on running those things. And I think that's dangerous. I think that gives them enough power to make things worse.
Right.
But it is unrelated to defense spending in some ways.
In some ways, what you're basically, it's kind of like a different way of looking at it. You're basically saying, hey, how can these AI computational techniques be applied in domains like social science?
Yeah.
Right. And that's like what's interesting to you about it. Whereas, yeah.
And I think it's not being done fast enough, or it's not being done quickly enough. I mean, this is somewhat to its nature, right? Government is slower to implement, is slower to change because, I mean, which is unfortunate because it's slower, but nice because that means it's less likely to, like, I don't want the government to, Doge in the US put all of Social Security through XAI and suddenly decide I don't get Social Security anymore. That seems bad. And so there should be some safeguards in place, but also I think it has a lot of potential, and I being in an academic context, I get to do that, and I am hoping I can find some exciting things that come out of that, and I have very high hopes of soon this fall going to the OECD, the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, to work on exactly that, on computational public policy solutions.
That's crazy.
So they are working on that. They're actively working on that right now. And I don't think many other governments or many other government entities are. So I think that's exciting. Yeah.
That's cool, man. Maybe we can talk about that next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds like a crazy rabbit hole.
Yeah.
This was a good first chat. I feel like
I'm glad
I'm learning. Yeah, I'm learning a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Still wrapping my head around it, but it's cool. I really, really like the way you think and the way you break things down. It's like you seem very like sensible.
Thank you.
And so I like hearing your perspectives on things. I hope we can keep doing it, man.
Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely. Yeah.
There you go, man.
Yeah.
Done. 12:47. That was like 2 hours.
Yeah, that was good.
Good job, man.